RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests or advertisers. The information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily to be considered an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill news for Saturday Night Livestream. A very special presentation. The return of the rally. Live from Tulsa, Oklahoma, 45, President Donald J. Trump. The first rally in I don't know how long. It's been far too long, but we are going to be live streaming it here on the channel. I hope that every Patriot channel on this platform gets this show out. We need as many eyes on the POTUS as we possibly can get. And then, in the second half of the program, my good friend Neon Revolt is going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but it's going to be a great conversation. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. During a recent vote, the U.S. Senate has agreed to give law enforcement agencies access to web browsing history data without needing to obtain a warrant first. According to Senator Ron Wyden, who opposed the bill, getting access to somebody's web browsing history is almost like spying on their thoughts. This level of surveillance absolutely ought to require a warrant. Well, it's now more essential than ever to browse the web using a VPN or virtual private network. The VPN that I choose to use is Virtual Shield because it's the fastest, easiest, and has a plug-and-play 30-day free trial. Here, let me show you guys how easy it is. Alright, so here we are. We'll go to what is my IP. You can see it's right there. Now, when I connect to Virtual Shield, that will mask my actual location, and it now shows that I am here in Chicago, Illinois, and my location is secure. Now, Virtual Shield is the easiest to use, it's the fastest server connections, and it offers a money-back guarantee. And due to the recent pandemic and all the trouble we're seeing in the world right now, Virtual Shield wants to offer a 50% off deal on all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, Residential Access, and VIP Performance plans for as low as a cup of coffee. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is about. You've got nothing to lose. Please visit virtualshield.com/redpill78. That's virtualshield.com/redpill78, or click the link in the description or the pinned comment. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here tonight, guys. We are going to have a great show. Not only am I super looking forward to watching the president and his rally in Tulsa, I am really looking forward to my buddy Neon Revolt coming here to have a conversation with us tonight. You guys know me. I love to have all kinds of different people on the program. Of course, it helps if we're friends, but one of the most important things is that the people who come on my show do not need to have the exact same views as I have. If we can have dissenting opinions and have a conversation about it, then that is a win in my book. And I think that's what's missing from our country today. People have lost the ability to get that discourse in, to have a conversation about things and maybe learn something from each other. That is the tenet of my program, and that's what we're doing tonight. I cannot wait till President Trump starts. We are still waiting on him right now, but in the meantime, we're going to have some other things to hang out and talk about, you guys. I want to know, first of all, how are you guys in the audience? And I also want to make a plea. If you haven't yet, please consider liking and sharing this broadcast, getting it out there for us. You know, it really does help big time. Also, I want to thank Virtual Shield for sponsoring the program. Obviously, without my direct sponsors, the channel would be completely demonetized, and it would be almost impossible to do what I do here for you guys. I want to bring you guys the best quality programming that I possibly can. I want to start out by saying thank you so much to all the mods. I saw Jojo K, Wheezy Girl, Woke Societies, Leslie Berger, anybody else who is in the audience who is a mod and helps keep the chat super comfy. We have, I'm sure there will probably be some trolls here tonight. Maybe some people don't like watching the POTUS rallies, or maybe they're just tuning in because they have a problem with me. But the thing about it is my conscience is clear, and I think my character speaks for itself. So we are all family here. You guys are the best, and I'm very, very happy to be here. So give me a 1 in the chat if you're feeling good about tonight. Give me a 2 if you have misgivings about the plan. And it's okay. Everybody here can answer honestly. That's what I want to hear. And then after we do that, oh, there's my mom. Hey, Real Red Pill Mom. Good to see you. Yeah, please, you guys. 1 in the chat if you're feeling comfy. 2 if you're having misgivings about the plan. Let's hear it. I want to see this. Chris Edwards says, you the man, Red Pill. Thanks. No, you're the man, Chris. I appreciate it. All right. Cross the board ones. Cross the board ones. This is a good sign. Oh, you got to love it. I haven't seen a single 2 yet. I'm sure that there's a couple of 2s. There's a couple of 2s. All right. Well, let's talk about something that is very important and that I don't know if maybe everybody has necessarily thought of. You know what the Dems want to do? They want to destroy us mentally and emotionally. They want us to stop acting on behalf of logic and reason and start acting on behalf of emotions and, you know, I guess zero logic. So what they do is they attempt to demoralize us on a daily basis. They defame the president. They defame me. They defame you. They defame this movement. But the thing is, they can't kill our spirit. And as long as we know that we are going to be victorious, we're going to win in November, President Trump is going to win in a landslide, they can't beat us. All right. Even if they do beat us in the presidential election, I am not going to let anyone kill my spirit. But here's the thing. I don't think there is a chance, a snowball's chance in, you know, HE double hockey sticks that we're not going to win in November. I had a really, really awesome report come out of California earlier today. One of the patriots who watches the program told me that in the state of California, he's in Southern California. I actually retweeted it on my timeline on Twitter. He said normally you would see all kinds of Joe Biden signs, you know, all kinds of Democrat paraphernalia around. And normally, you know, I mean, that's what you would expect. He said that you see nothing. You don't see any Joe Biden signs. You don't see any Democrat, you know, Joe Biden 2020 bumper stickers. But you do see a ton of Donald Trump signs, a ton of Donald Trump flags, even Donald Trump billboards. They are all over the place. I'm going to make a prediction right now and say that this election, November 2020, we are going to take California. California is going to be a blue state once again, because I don't think that the Dems, their cronies at the DNC, or any of their people in the Arizona mafia working with the cartels, I don't think that they're going to be able to steal this election in the same way that they've stolen California in the past. I see Jason woke up in Vegas out there. Oh, Charles Pixley, what's up, my brother? I hope you're staying safe. Charles Pixley is on a cross-country road trip right now. Charles, I hope that you're doing well, brother. So, yeah. I don't think that they're going to be able to beat us. I feel very, very confident, and I think that there's a difference between, you know, hubris and a natural level of confidence that we need to persist and overcome in November. If they get their way, guys, they will demoralize us to the point that we will just assume that President Trump is going to lose. And that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping that we won't get the same level of turnout that we've gotten in 2016. And unfortunately, you know, we didn't get that good of a turnout in the midterms. You know, I mean, things went a different way, although our favorite Anon told us that the Senate was the target, and we did maintain the Senate. That was good. Oh, wait a second. Red. I said blue, didn't I? Sorry, that was my bad. So what we have to do is maintain that confidence. We have to know that in order to win, we have to vote. We have to show up. We have to talk to the people in our lives, our friends and neighbors, the people who might be sitting on the fence. Let them know all the wonderful things that President Trump has done for this country, what they have done to try to destroy the country, and what we have done to stop that from happening. And if they want to see gains, if they want to watch wonderful things continue to happen, then they're going to have to show up in November and vote for President Trump. I think that honestly, right now, what we're seeing, all of this negative stuff, these things, it's gotten me down in the last couple weeks. I'm not going to lie. I've already been honest with you about that here on the show. Hey, Craig Mason. Craig Mason is also in the chat. What's up, brother? If people believe that the Democrats are going to win, then they're not going to show up. Okay, we have to believe that the Republicans, that President Trump is going to win. Most specifically, President Trump is going to win, and as a result, the American public is going to win, and we are going to continue this movement that we started way back when, back in 2017, October 2017. Let me just do a couple of quick thank yous, because I had a couple of Patriots hit me up on PayPal. Kevin, thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate you there. Elise, good to see you, Elise. Thank you for that. Diane, she said she had to cancel her Teespring order, ordered on 5/22 but never received. I wanted to advertise your channel, but Teespring sucks. NFC, you credited my account, but that doesn't help you. A little something for my favorite citizens journalist. Love you, sweetie. Thank you, Diane. So let me tell you guys how the Teespring things works. They're supposed to print the shirts, and then they send them out. President Trump is coming out onto the stage right now, you guys. We are going to transition to the stream, and here we go. We're going to keep the audio off until he gets on the screen because I don't want to get a copyright infringement thing on here. Even though I'm not monetized anymore, I don't want to give them the option of monetizing my channel. Also, guys, I'm going to be on the screen, but I just want you to know that I'm not going to be, I guess I'm not going to be giving commentary on President Trump, what he's saying while he's speaking. I think it's important that we allow President Trump to speak, that he gets the opportunity to say what he needs to say. You know, I will perhaps inject commentary when he is not talking, but I don't want to speak over the president. It's too important. This is too important. But I will be trying to keep up with the chat while I'm going through there, and I guess while I'm waiting for him to get up on the stage. You know, there is a slight delay in getting your merchandise from Teespring. So, Diane, I do apologize that you didn't get it soon enough. That is a bummer. I also need to say thank you to Christopher. He says, bring in so much red pill news. Bring in so much... bringing so many red pillars together. Great structure built on the ultimate foundation. Love you, brother. Amen. Thanks, Chris. Then Kathleen. Thank you for that, Kathleen. Also to Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. Beulah. Thank you, Beulah. Marianne. Thank you. And Peter. I'm not going to say it because I already said your first name, Peter. I don't want to put you out there too much, buddy. All right, you guys. So I'm gonna slow on the slow chat just a little bit because we've got over 1,600 Patriots here, and I want to make sure that the mods are able to. Oh, here comes the president. Let's go.
Thank you. So we begin Oklahoma. We begin. Thank you, Oklahoma, and thank you to Vice President Mike Pence. We begin our campaign. We begin our campaign, and I just want to thank all of you. You are warriors. I've been watching the fake news for weeks now, and everything is negative. Don't go, don't come, don't do anything. Today it was like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. You are warriors. Thank you. We had some very bad people outside. We had some very bad people outside. They were doing bad things. But I really do. I appreciate it. We have just a tremendous group of people in Oklahoma. And I hear I hear from your two great senators and your governor that we're doing very well in Oklahoma. That's the word. That's the word. I stand before you today to declare the silent majority is stronger than ever before. 5 months from now, we're going to defeat Sleepy Joe Biden. It's a pass from these people, huh? We're going to stop the radical left. We're going to build a future of safety and opportunity for Americans of every race, color, religion, and creed. Republicans are the party of liberty, equality, and justice for all. We are the party of Abraham Lincoln, and we are the party of law and order. Think of what we've done. We will have close to 300 federal judges appointed and approved by the end of my first time. That's an all-time record. That's an all-time record. I've always heard how important judges are. Now we know how important they are. Think of that, over 300, around 300 by the end of the term. And when we have another 4 years, we're going to have a big, big percentage of the total number. Very important. November 3rd. And 2 great Supreme Court judges. So we have 2 justices of the Supreme Court. Justice Gorsuch, Justice Kavanaugh. They're great. They're great. They are, they're great. We have 2. And we could get a few more. Yeah, we could get a few more. We've spent over $2 trillion to completely rebuild the unmatched strength and power of the United States military. And all of that incredible equipment, whether it's submarines or missiles or rockets or jet fighters, bombers, it's all built in the USA. We passed VA choice. Thank you very much, Jim. Where's my senator? Jim Inhofe. You better vote for him. He's running. He's great. But we'll get to him and James Lankford in a second. 2 great senators. You have 2 great senators. So we passed VA choice. So if you're a veteran, for years and years, they've wanted to do it for almost 50 years. We got it done. We get a lot of things done. And so if you're a veteran and you have to wait online for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 7 weeks, 2 months, what happens is you go outside, you get a private doctor, you get fixed up, and they pay your bill. We take care of the bill. We take care of the bill, and you get immediate service. It's never happened before, and our approval rating at the VA is now 91%. That's how good it is. Never been anywhere near that number. Never been anywhere near that number. And VA accountability. We had a lot of bad people in the VA, people that didn't love our vets, people that were sadistic, people that stole, a lot of bad people. You couldn't get rid of them because they were, let's say it could be unions, it could be civil service, right? Let's just say. And so you couldn't get it done. That was another one. For decades and decades, they wanted to get it changed. And I got it done with those people and your congressman, who I'm going to introduce. VA accountability, and now somebody treats our veterans badly. And we look at them, and what do we say? We say, you're fired, get out, right? Get out. They got rid of a lot of bad people that were there for a long time, sort of like me in Washington, draining the swamp. I never knew it was so deep, but it's happening. It's happening. I never knew it was so deep. It's deep and thick and a lot of bad characters. Thank you. We're lowering the price of prescription drugs, making our allies pay their fair share. They get a big bargain on drug prices, and enacting fair trade deals that finally, after all these years, put America first. I've been saying it for a long time. We passed the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. The Democrats want to raise your taxes. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. I guess I'm old-fashioned. You know, all my life, I heard politicians want to lower taxes, not raise them. If you could lower them, you couldn't lose. The Democrats want to substantially raise your taxes. How do you figure that? How do you figure that? And regulation cuts, we passed more regulation cuts than any administration in the history of our country. And with the help of our great energy workers, many of them come from the great state of Oklahoma. Do you ever notice that Biden oftentimes gets the state wrong? He's in Iowa, and he says, it's good to be in Idaho. No, you're in Iowa. He's in New Hampshire, and he says, it's great to be in Ohio. No, you're in New Hampshire. That happens to him all the time. Hasn't happened to me yet. You know, when that happens, there's nothing you can do to make up for it. You might as well just walk off the stage because the speech is a disaster. Okay. Right? But we just turned the United States into the dominant energy superpower of the world, And because of the Chinese virus, what happened about 3 months ago, it looked like we were in big trouble, and we were, and I got it back together. I called Russia. I called Russia. I called Saudi Arabia. And believe it or not, I called Mexico. Mexico was a little bit tough. That's called OPEC Plus. Did you ever hear of OPEC Plus? That's OPEC plus plus. And we got them to do the right thing, and we have our energy back to up almost $40 a barrel, meaning you have an energy business again. Almost $40 a barrel. A couple of months ago, it was zero, and we were going to lose 10 million energy jobs, 10 million jobs. So Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and many other states would have been hurt. Now, you think you're going to be hurt there? You try putting AOC in charge of your energy. That will make the pandemic look like child's play to the people in energy. She has one problem. It's called petroleum. No president or administration has done more in the first 3.5 years than the Trump administration. Not even close. Nobody. Our incredible success in rebuilding America stands in stark contrast to the extremism and destruction and violence of the radical left. We just saw it outside. You just saw it outside. You saw these thugs that came along. These people call them protesters. Isn't it beautiful? It's so beautiful. No, they're so wonderful. They call them the Boston Tea Party. They're so wonderful. Yeah, they call them. You ever watch fake news CNN? You ever watch where they go? How about the CNN anchor? How about the CNN anchor? You know, did a little shave job in the head, which is fine. And he's standing in front of a building saying things are very peaceful here. And the building is, it looks like the biggest fire I've ever seen. The whole town is burning. It's like the biggest fire. And he said, things are very good here, Anderson. I think it's good. I think it's good. These are wonderful people, Anderson. You ever see that? Looked like the world was coming to an end. And you know, we did something in Minneapolis. After watching for 3 or 4 days, I called. I said, you got to get out. You can't protect yourselves. I got them to take 8,000 National Guardsmen. And in 1 hour, it all ended. And they rode through the next 3 weeks with no problem. And we did the same thing in other cities. But how about Seattle? Isn't that great? So they take over a big chunk of a city called Seattle. I mean, we're not talking about some little place. We're talking about Seattle. Have you ever been to Seattle? They took over a big chunk, and the governor, who's radical left, all of these places I talk about are Democrat. You know that. Every one of them. Every one of them. And I have an offer out. I said, anytime you want, we'll come in, we'll straighten it out in 1 hour or less. Now, I may be wrong, but it's probably better for us to just watch that disaster. I flew in with some of our great congressmen who we're going to introduce in a second, and I said to him, Congressman, what do you think? I can straighten it out fast. Should we just go in? No, sir. Let it simmer for a little while. Let people see what radical left Democrats will do to our country. Right? But Americans have watched left-wing radicals burn down buildings, loot businesses, destroy private property, injure hundreds of dedicated police officers. These police officers, they get injured. They don't complain. They're incredible. And injure thousands upon thousands of people only to hear the radical fake news say what a beautiful rally it was. And they never talk about COVID. They don't talk about when you see 25,000 people walking down Fifth Avenue or walking down a street of a Democrat-run city. You never hear them saying, they're not wearing their mask. You don't hear them saying, as they're breaking windows and running in. And then when I say the looters, the anarchists, the agitators, they say, what a terrible thing for our president to say. What a terrible thing. But you don't hear them talking about COVID. COVID. To be specific, COVID-19. That name gets further and further away from China as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus. And despite the fact that I have done a phenomenal job with it, I shut down the United States to very heavily infected, but all people from China in late January, which is months earlier than other people would have done it, if they would have done it at all. I saved hundreds of thousands of lives. We don't ever get even a mention. Then I closed it down to Europe early. Closed it down because I saw what was happening. And by the way, most people said, don't do it. Don't do it. We saved hundreds of thousands of lives. And all we do is get hit on like we're terrible. And what we've done with the ventilators and with the medical equipment and with testing, you know, testing is a double-edged sword. We've tested now 25 million people. It's probably 20 million people more than anybody else. Germany's done a lot. South Korea's done a lot. They call me, they say, the job you're doing, here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please. They test and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on. We got tests. We got another one over here. The young man's 10 years old. He's got the sniffles. He'll recover in about 15 minutes. That's a case. Add up to it. That's a case. That's a case. I was actually with a very nice man, very good man, even though he's very liberal, the governor of New Jersey, right? We know him? Now listen, he said to me something that's amazing. New Jersey was very heavily hit, very hard hit, thousands of people. He said with thousands of people that died, thousands of people, there was only one person that died under the age of 18. Would you believe that? Which tells me one thing, that kids are much stronger than us. When you see a little kid running around, say, boy, oh boy, do you have a great immune system. How about a piece of your immune system? They don't even know about this. Let's open the schools, please. Open. Open the schools. We got to get them open. In the fall, we got to get them open. The unhinged left-wing mob is trying to vandalize our history, desecrate our monuments, our beautiful monuments, tear down our statues, and punish, cancel, and persecute anyone who does not conform to their demands for absolute and total control. We're not conforming. That's why we're here, actually. This cruel campaign of censorship and exclusion violates everything we hold dear as Americans. They want to demolish our heritage so they can impose their new oppressive regime in its place. They want to defund and dissolve our police departments. Think of that. You know, I heard it for the first time 2 weeks ago. I said, well, that one, I mean, they're only kidding. I said, they're not. Minneapolis, you see what's going on? They're not kidding. They got a lot of problems. They'll have a lot of problems. Hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and a very tough, you know, I've used the word on occasion, hombre. A very tough hombre is breaking into the window of a young woman whose husband is away as a traveling salesman or whatever he may do. And you call 911, and they say, I'm sorry, this number is no longer working. By the way, you have many cases like that, many, whether it's a young woman, an old woman, a young man, or an old man, and you're sleeping. So what are you going to do, right? So they want to defund. They really do. This is a serious movement. And in Minneapolis, the council's already passed it. In Seattle, you see what's going on there. It's even worse, okay? These people are stone cold crazy. They're crazy. So if you want to save your heritage, you want to save that beautiful heritage of ours. We have a great heritage. We're a great country. You are so lucky I'm president. That's all I can tell you. People have come up to me and say, how do you take it? I say, do I have a choice? Do I have a choice? We deal with a lot of bad people, but we're winning. And every once in a while, I'll have one of these days where I'm hit left and right, like even this great event. What if you could have seen outside, or if you could have heard the reports, oh, it's COVID, it's this, they've got, it's, by the way, it's a disease, without question, has more names than any disease in history. I can name Kung Flu, I can name 19 different versions of names. Many call it a virus, which it is. Many call it a flu, what difference? I think we have 19 or 20 versions of the name. But they say to me, where do you get the energy? I say, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. You know, it was interesting to show you how fake they are. You might have seen it. So last week they called me and they say, sir, West Point, we're ready. I said, oh, that's right. I have to make the commencement speech at West Point. You know, they delayed it for 6 weeks because of COVID. So they delayed it, and I went there. 1,106 cadets were graduating, and beautiful. Right? Beautiful cadets. So this is just to show you how bad the fake news is. So they say to me, sir, we're ready to go. I say, let's go. This is after saying hello to a lot of cadets, inspecting little areas of a building that was very exciting. Actually, it's beautiful, very old. Studied a lot of our great generals, some of our presidents that went there. West Point is beautiful, right on the Hudson River. But after an hour, general that runs it is a fantastic guy. After an hour, we land. We do some more inspections, and they say, sir, are you ready? Yes, I am. So we walk like the equivalent of about 3 blocks, which was fine. We go on stage, which is fine. They make speeches, then I make a speech. It lasted a long time. I don't know, maybe 45 minutes, maybe longer. I don't know, but a long time. The sun is pouring down on me, okay? But they said to me before the speech, sir, would you like to salute each cadet, each single cadet, or maybe they'll be in groups of 2. Would you like to salute like this? Yes. Like this. Almost 600 times. You know what that is? 600 times! Thank God they were in 2s. Because let me tell you, you do that 600 times, you go home and you say, it's like a workout without a weight, right? 600 times. So I did that. Then the incredible helicopters, brand new, gorgeous helicopters, the Apaches and the other new ones that we just bought. So they fly over. And the kids throw the hats in the air. It's beautiful, it really is. And it was a beautiful day. And we're all finished. I was on the stage for hours. Hours! Sun, I came home, I had a nice tan. Meaning I had a nice sunburn. No, the sun's going right like that. But I make the speech, right? I salute for probably an hour and a half, maybe more, but around that. Watch, if I'm off by 2 minutes, I'll say, he exaggerated. It was only an hour and 25 minutes. He exaggerated, he lied, he's a liar. These people are sick, the fake news. So then, I finished saluting, my final salute. I said, thank goodness, thank you very much. But think of it, so essentially almost 600 times. Now, the general says, sir, are you ready? I said, I'm ready, General. Where are we going now? You have to understand, I left early in the morning to get there. Now it's sort of late in the afternoon. A lot of these fakers were with us. So they know. He said, sir, we can now leave the stage. I say, great, General, let's go. I'll follow you. And he goes like this, right here, sir. I'll walk on. And the stage was higher than this one. And the ramp was probably 10 yards long. I say, General, now you gotta understand, I have the whole Corps of Cadets looking at me. And I want them to love their president. I did this big thing. I love them. I love them. They're incredible. And they do. I said, General, I've got myself a problem, General. Because I'm wearing leather bottom shoes, which is good if you're walking on flat surfaces. It's not good for ramps. And if I fall down, look at all those press back there. Look at that. And this was a steel ramp. You all saw it, because everybody saw it. This was a steel ramp. It had no handrail. It was like an ice skating rink. And I said, General, I have a problem. And he didn't understand that at first. I said, there's no way. You understood? I just saluted almost 600 times. I just made a big speech. I sat for other speeches. I'm being baked. I'm being baked like a cake. I said, General, there's no way I can make it down that ramp without falling on my ass, General. I have no railing. Sure. It's true. So I said, is there like something else around? Sir, the ramp is ready to go. Grab me, sir. Grab me. I didn't really want to grab him. You know why? Because I said, that'll be a story too. So now I have a choice. I can stay up there for another couple of hours and wait till I'm rescued. Or I can go down this really steep, really, it's an ice skating rink. It's brutal. So I said, General, get ready, because I may grab you so fast. Because I can't fall with the fake news watching. If I fall, I remember when President Ford fell out of the plane, you remember? I remember when another president, nice man, threw up in Japan. And they did slow motion replays. It's true, right? It's true. I don't want that, General. Now he's standing there, big strong guy, and he's got these shoes, but they're loaded with rubber on the bottom. Because the first thing I did, I looked at his shoes. Then I looked at mine. Very, very slippery. So I end up saying, okay, General, let's go. I will only grab you if I need you. That's not a good story. Falling would be a disaster. It turned out to be worse than anything. I would have been better off if I fell and slid down the damn ramp. Right? So what happens is I start the journey inch by inch, right? And I was really bent over, too. I didn't like that, you know. I didn't like this picture. This picture, I'm sure, will be an ad by the fakers. So I was bent over, right? And I'm going like this. And then we finally reached almost the end. And the fake news, the most dishonest human beings, they cut it off. You know why? Because when I was 10 feet short, I said, General, I'm sorry, and I ran down the rest, right? I looked very handsome. That was the only good thing. I wouldn't want to run down the whole thing, because the fall there would be definitely bad. So I took these little steps. I ran down the last 10. And by the way, their tape, take a look. In almost every instance, it ends just before I run. And they said, here was the #1 trending story. I called my wife. I said, how good was that speech? I thought it was hey, look, I will tell you when I make good ones and bad ones. Like so far tonight, I'm average. Okay? But we're having fun. We're having fun. So far tonight. But I called my wife and I said, how good was it, darling? She said, you're trending #1. I said to our great First Lady, I said, let me ask you a question. Was it that good, the speech, that I'm trending #1? Because I felt it was really good. No, they don't even mention the speech. They mentioned the fact that you may have Parkinson's disease. It's true. It's true. It's true. They say there's something wrong with our president. I'll let you know if there's something wrong, okay? I'll let you know if there's something. I'll tell you what, there's something wrong with Biden, that I can tell you. So then my wife said, well, it wasn't only the ramp. Did you have water? I said, yeah. I was speaking for a long time. I didn't want to drink it, but I wanted to wet my lips a little bit. You know, you're working hard up there with the sun pouring down on you. I love this location. The sun's like this. This way they save on lighting, right? That's why they did it probably. So what happens is I said, what does it have to do with water? They said, you couldn't lift your hand up to your mouth with water. I said, I just saluted 600 times like this. And this was before I saluted. So what's the problem? She said, well, I know what you did. You had on a very good red tie that's sort of expensive. It's silk because they look better. They have a better sheen to them. And I don't want to get water on the tie. And I don't want to drink much. So I lifted up the water. I see we have a little glass of water. Where the hell did this water come from? Right? Where did it come from? And I looked down on my tie, because I've done it. I've taken water, and it spills down into your tie. It doesn't look good for a long time. And frankly, the tie is never the same. So I put it up to my lip, and then I say, because I don't want it to, just in case. And they gave me another disease. They gave me another disease. Anyway, that's a long story, but here's the story. I have lived with more the ramp than the water, but I've lived with the ramp and the water since I left West Point. Not one media group said I made a good speech or I made a great speech. But the kids loved it because they broke their barrier, which wasn't good in terms of COVID. But they broke their barrier and they wanted to shake hands. They wanted to, and I don't want to tell anybody, but there were a couple of kids they put at the end. I actually shook their hand, okay? I actually shook it. Because they were excited. They were excited. They're with their president. They were excited. The most beautiful young people, men, women, the most beautiful young people you've ever seen. So think of how you feel, you me. I go there. How did I do? Sir, that was a great speech. You know, all my people, sir, that was one of your best. That was great. I said, that's great. I agree. It was a good speech. I like that speech. They don't mention the speech, but they have me going down this ramp at an inch at a time. It's so unfair. It really is. So unfair. They are among the most dishonest people anywhere on earth. They're bad people. Bad people. Okay, that's enough of that. I wanted to tell that story. Does everybody understand that story? The left-wing anarchists tore down a statue of Thomas Jefferson. Now we're getting into the real stuff. They decapitated a statue of Christopher Columbus, except in New York when the Italians surrounded it. They didn't have too much of a chance. Those Italians, I love the Italians. They heard they were going to rip down their beautiful Christopher Columbus, and all of a sudden they circled that thing. They didn't do too well in hurting Christopher, did they? Thank you to our Italian population. We're very proud of you, right? 2 days ago, leftist radicals in Portland, Oregon, ripped down a statue of George Washington and wrapped it in an American flag and set the American flag on fire. Democrat, all Democrat. Everything I tell you is Democrat. And you know, we ought to do something, Mr. Senators. We have two great senators. We ought to come up with legislation that if you burn the American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. 1 year. Jim and James. Jim and James. We ought to do it. You know, they talk about freedom of speech, and I'm a big believer in freedom of speech, but that's desecration. That's a terrible thing they do. We used to have things, we don't have them anymore because we want to be so open, so everything, and look what happens. We should have legislation that if somebody wants to burn the American flag and stomp on it, but just burn it, they go to jail for 1 year, okay? In Seattle, the Democrat mayor and the Democrat city council have surrendered control of 6 city blocks to an anarchist mob. These are anarchists. These are not protesters. You listen to the fake news, they say, oh, the protesters were lovely. Could you imagine if people just even slightly to the right tried to take over Seattle? They'd have machine guns out to get them. But these people can take over the city. Look at what they've done to business people that have spent years and years building their business, and now they're wiped out, taken away. Governor Inslee ought to get his act together, get in there. I'll help you. I'll do whatever you want. I'm waiting for a call. I would love to do it. I would love to do it. It'll take less than an hour, and it'll all be over with, and you'll have your city back. And yet Biden remains silent in his basement in the face of this brutal assault on our nation and the values of our nation. Joe Biden has surrendered to his party and to the left-wing mob. He has no control. Does anybody honestly think he controls these radical maniacs? You know what he says to his wife when he's not confusing her with his sister? Get me the hell out of here. These people are crazy. That's what he says. He has absolutely no control. You know, a lot of times I'll make like a speech, and I'll have this beautiful paragraph come out criticizing every little aspect of the speech. Beautiful, brilliant. But Joe didn't. And it'll say, a comment from Joe Biden. But he didn't say it. Professional people, great students in English lit, people that are very smart say it. Joe Biden said, and they'll go into this highly complex paragraph, beautifully worded, and I say, Joe didn't say that. Joe doesn't even understand it. And if Biden is elected, he will surrender your country to these mobsters 100%. Your 401ks, by the way, look at how we're doing in the stock market. Just set another record with NASDAQ. Your 401ks and money itself will be worthless. Your 401ks are doing very well, unless, I don't want to say if you were stupid, I said, don't sell, don't sell. It went down, but we got it back up. And now NASDAQ, think of it, NASDAQ just set a record, and I think you're going to see a lot of records. And next year, if we don't do anything stupid on November 3rd, you are going to have the greatest economic year we've ever had. That'll be next year. If the Democrats gain power, then the rioters will be in charge, and no one will be safe, and no one will have control. Joe Biden is not the leader of his party. Joe Biden is a helpless puppet of the radical left. And he's not radical left. I don't think he knows what he is anymore. But he was never radical left. But he's controlled by the radical left. And now he's really controlled. His campaign staff even donated a lot of money to bail out rioters, looters, and arsonists who ravaged Minneapolis. They bailed them out. They put up a lot of money to bail them out, the rioters, the looters. And they were the arsonists. So they'll say, oh, it's terrible what he says about the people of our nation. Maybe some of them aren't even from our nation. The left is trying to do everything they can to stop us. Every hour of every day, including even violence and mayhem, they'll do anything they can to stop us. Look what happened tonight. Look at what happened tonight. Law enforcement said, sir, they can't be outside, it's too dangerous. We had a bunch of maniacs come and sort of attack our city. The mayor and the governor did a great job, but they were very violent people. And our people are not nearly as violent, but if they ever were, it would be a terrible, terrible day for the other side. Because I know our people. I know our people. But we will never submit to their threats, and we will never let them destroy our nation. What they did tonight, I saw it on television coming in on Air Force One. One thing about Air Force One, we got plenty of televisions. We have televisions in closets. You open up the closet, got a television. We got a lot of televisions. It's a great plane, great everything. By the way, we ordered new ones. No president wanted to do it. They thought it was luxury. I said, wait a minute. Air Force One is 31 years old. People don't realize that. So I said, they gave me a chart very early in my administration, like, how about the first week? Sir, would you sign for this plane? Now, it's actually two planes. Would you sign for this plane? Air Force One. I said, how old is the original or the one we have now? Sir, it's 31, 32 years. And I'd see people coming in from foreign lands that can't compete with us. Rich countries, but they can't compete with you. And they have a brand new, beautiful 747-800, 747. And I said, wait a minute, that country has new and we have a 31-year, so somebody had to do it. So the deal was made, and it was made for a lot of money. I think it was $5.7 or $5.6 billion. Now, in all fairness, it's two planes, and there's a lot of stuff in those planes. I won't talk to you about it. So I told Boeing, the head of Boeing, they said, sir, please, would like to get started on the planes. I said, I do too, but I'm not paying $5.6 billion. And I'm not paying $4.6 billion. I said, it has to have a 3 on the front of it. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of money too, but it is a rather complex situation. They said, no way, no way. This was before Boeing had problems, by the way. But Boeing's coming back. They're coming back. The greatest company in the world, and it had some big problems. It had a couple of problems that didn't work out. That was terrible. But the greatest, I think before that, it was the greatest company in the world. It made up 1/4 of a point of our GDP. Think how big that is, one company. It was an unbelievable machine. And then they made a plane, and they did some foolish things, and a terrible thing happened, and all of a sudden, they've gone through hell. But you know what? They're coming back. We're ready to help them if they need it, but they're coming back, and they're coming back strong. But this was the Boeing before that, and they were riding high, and like I was before this thing came in. But we're still riding high because you know what? On November 3rd, we're going to win. We're going to win. So they came in and they said, no, we want, 5.6 billion, whatever it was. If I'm a little bit off, they'll go crazy, you know. Whatever, but it was a lot. 5.6 billion, nope, gotta have a 3. Call me up, nope, cancel the contract. I said, cancel the contract, I want to cancel. I said, General, can you cancel the contract? He said, yes, sir, I'm very proud of it. Oh, good, cancel it. Okay, sir, by the way, to cancel it, do you have to pay anything? Yes, sir. We have a cancellation fee, sir. How much is it, General? $250 million, sir. I said, what? Sir, we made a good deal. $250 million to cancel. You mean if we don't buy the plane, we have to hand them $250 million? That's not good, right? Look at these two guys, they're looking. By the way, that's like a good story compared to some I could tell you, like with aircraft carriers. So they said $250 million, or, I always say this, or around that number, because I'm off by a little bit. They say, oh, he exaggerates. I look at numbers all day long. That's what I look at for years now, for my whole life when you think of it. $250 million cancellation fee, sir. He was very proud of himself. What a great deal. I say, General, don't cancel. Don't cancel. Just tell him I don't want the planes. Don't put anything in writing. Don't put it in writing, General. Why, sir? Because I don't want to pay $250. True. Do you hear that, Jim? Jim Inhofe, he's great. You hear that, Jim? You know that story. He does a great job. So here's what happened, the bottom line. Boeing says, no way, no way, no way. The next week they say, no way we're doing it. The next week they said, how about $5 billion? I said, no way, no way. The next week they said, 4.8. I said, nope, it's got to have a 3 on the front of it. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Don't you understand? I turned out to be right, you know. Turned out to be right. Nobody gets that? No, got to have a 3. Next day, they come back, 4.5 is our best offer. Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Come back when you're ready. A month goes by, another month, they never heard about it. They never heard from me. They thought I was serious. I was. And they came back at $4 billion. That's a lot of money. But I saved like $1.6 billion or $1.7 billion. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. When I get foreign nations to pay us billions and billions of dollars, nobody wants to talk about that. When I take soldiers out of countries because they're not treating us properly, Germany is an example. I mean, I have a German heritage, like some of you. I said, let's get it down from 50,000 to 25,000 because they're delinquent. For many years, they're delinquent. They haven't been paying what they're supposed to be paying. They're paying 1% instead of 2%, and 2% is a very low number. And they say, yes, we think by 2030, maybe 2032, we can get current. I said, no, Angela. Angela, please. Don't say that, Angela. It's true. You know who I'm talking about. Nice, by the way, very nice woman, very good negotiator. I said, Angela, that's a long time. This was in 2019. She said 2032. I said, no, Angela, that's not working. But I said, what about, because now they want to get current, but I said, well, what about the last 25 years, all the money you owe us? Everybody forgot about that. They forget about all the money that wasn't paid. I said, what about the $1 trillion that you really owe? So we're negotiating, let's see. But in the meantime, we're reducing our troops. Remember this, remember this. We're supposed to protect Germany from Russia. But Germany is paying Russia billions of dollars for energy coming from a pipeline, brand new pipeline. So they pay the country we're supposed to protect them from. They pay billions of dollars to that country. We're supposed to protect them. Excuse me, how does that work? How does that work? And the great thing is with Jim Inhofe and with James Langford likewise, when they just said they love you, James. When they hear it, they get it. A lot of people don't get it. They get it. We cannot continue to be ripped off. We're ripped off by so many countries, and we're stopping it. And that means that a lot of people don't want me here. They don't want me here. There are a lot of people that don't want me here. You know, they don't sell a lot of bombs when we're not dropping bombs on people. You know that, right? It's called the military-industrial complex. When rioting and looting broke out in our nation's capital, I very quickly deployed the National Guard. I said, get them in. After watching for an evening or two, we stopped the violence and restored peace and order to the streets. And last night they had a little breakout again. They ripped down a statue that was 110 years old, beautiful piece of art, in front of the police precinct with our radical left mayor watching on television. We're not happy. That's going to be very expensive for D.C. They're always looking for money. We need more money. We always need more money. And then they don't do the proper job. So it's not going to be good for Mayor Bowser. Mayor Bowser. They were heading over to the Jefferson Memorial recently, and they wanted to do damage to our great, beautiful Jefferson Memorial. Not going to happen. Don't worry about it. We have it surrounded with very strong people. The choice in 220 is very simple. Do you want to bow before the left-wing mob, or do you want to stand up tall and proud as Americans? And explain this to the NFL. I like the NFL. I like Roger Goodell, but I didn't like what he said a week ago. I said, where did that come from in the middle of the summer? Nobody's even asking. We will never kneel to our national anthem or our great American flag. We will stand proud and we will stand tall. I thought we won that battle with the NFL. Their stadiums were emptying out. Did you see those stadiums? It took them a long time to get you back. A lot of people didn't like that, you know? A lot of people that you wouldn't even think would care that much. I've had people that I said, these are super left liberals, and they didn't like it. Joe Biden and the Democrats want to prosecute Americans for going to church, but not for burning a church. They believe you can riot, vandalize, and destroy, but you cannot attend a peaceful pro-America rally. They want to punish your thought, but not their violent crimes. They want to abolish bail, abolish and open up your borders. They want open borders, let everyone, and by the way, we're doing so well. We have a record this month on the borders. Nobody's coming in. Very few people. And they want to abolish ICE. Our great people from ICE who send the roughest, toughest, meanest people that you've ever seen or ever heard. Generally speaking, when they have lots of tattoos on their face, they're not looking to do you much help. ICE. They're rough guys, they're rough, they're great Americans, they love, but they'll walk into, they call them a pack. They'll walk into a pack of tough MS-13 gang members. And you know, we shouldn't say this, it's not nice. They want us to negotiate. They start swinging, and the others start swinging, everybody's swinging, At the end, they carry them back and they throw them into the paddy wagon, right? They're great. And these people want to get rid of ICE. They get rid of murderers. They get rid of rapists. They get rid of the worst scum on earth. And when I called them animals, I said they're animals. And Nancy Pelosi, they cut up a young woman. They cut up a young woman and her friend, cut them up with a knife because it was more painful, dead. Cut them up with a knife because it's more painful, takes longer than shooting a gun. They cut them up. I said, these are animals. And Nancy Pelosi said, these are human beings, they're not animals. If I lose an election over that, you know what? This country's in big trouble. Big trouble. They want to disarm law-abiding citizens and dismantle our police forces while freeing vicious MS-13 gang members. In Joe Biden's America, rioters, looters, and criminal aliens have more rights than law-abiding citizens, and that's true. In my administration, we defend American citizens, and we deport MS-13 members. Or put them in jail if we have to. The chaos you're seeing in our Democratic-run cities, these are all run by the Democrats, is what will happen in every city and community in America, and much, much worse if we don't keep them out. We have to do this. We have to go to the polls on November 3rd, and the rest, you know what to do. You know what to do. Got to keep the White House. Joe Biden's record can be summed up as 4 decades of betrayal, calamity, and failure. He never did anything. He was a senator. He was a vice president. He was, before that, something. Guy, you know what's great? President Trump was tough on this, or he was tough. They complained. Never did anything about it. He's been there for 43 years or 47 years. He never did anything about it. Biden supported every globalist attack on the American worker. Let's make every country in the world rich but ourselves, including NAFTA, the disaster of NAFTA. He wanted to go, and TPP would have ruined our automobile industry. Korea, I renegotiated the deal. I took a horrible deal. That was a Hillary Clinton special. That was a Hillary Clinton special. She said, we have to make this deal with South Korea. It's going to mean 250,000 jobs. And she was right. For South Korea, 250,000 jobs. And China's entry into the World Trade Organization was supported by Sleepy Joe Biden. That was one of the worst deals economically in the history of our country. When China joined the World Trade Organization, they were flatlined for decades. They became like a rocket ship. He voted for the war in Iraq. He voted for mass amnesty for illegal aliens. He supports sanctuary cities, and now Biden wants to end immigration enforcement and he wants to require you to provide free health care for millions and millions of illegal aliens, okay? When I took early and decisive action to ban travel from China and protect Americans from the virus, and as I said, Joe Biden opposed my decision and called it hysteria, xenophobia. He doesn't know what the word means, xenophobia, and fear-mongering. And then he apologized a month later. He said he was wrong, but he didn't say it, and they didn't cover it. They didn't cover it. On one of the single most important policy decisions of our lifetime, Joe Biden sided with China over America. That's closing the border. He thought it was a terrible thing. Remember, this was in January. That's early, real early, the end of January. He thought it was a terrible thing when we closed the border to many people that were badly infected with COVID. When the chips are down, Biden will always cave to the radical left. He'll always bow to the angry mob, and he will never protect you or your family, and you know that. Joe Biden will always let you down. That's been his history. At my direction early this year, the heroes of the U.S. military took out the world's top terrorist, the savage killer and leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, and the #1 terrorist anywhere in the world, Qasem Soleimani. We took him out. Joe Biden opposed killing Soleimani. He was vehemently, we killed this #1 terrorist. He didn't like it. You know why he didn't like it? Because he thought it would be good politically. That didn't work out too well. Just as he opposed the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. He opposed it. You know that. Biden is always on the wrong side of history, as said by people that are with him and worked with him. He never made a correct foreign policy decision. Biden is a puppet for China. Son walked out with $1.5 billion. I think it's a little bit. Allowing them to rip off America for many years. Now they're paying us billions and billions of dollars. We give a lot of it to our farmers. We have plenty left over. China's not exactly happy with me. Billions. They pay us billions and billions of dollars, and they targeted our great farmers. And I took the money that they targeted. I took that money, and I gave it to the farmers, so they were even. So they're okay. Are you okay? Come. Doctor, please. Doctor. Thank you. These people, I mean, some of the people are waiting for 5 days, especially in this location, right? You take your time, darling. Take your time. Thank you very much. Take your time. Doctor, thank you, doctor. Thank you. Now, some people wait for 4 or 5 days. It's incredible. He never did anything against China, Joe Biden. And that's why they desperately want him to win. They want him to win so badly. Iran wants him to win so badly. Let me tell you, I'm going to make a very fast deal, the best deal you've ever seen. I've already made one with China, but I can make even more. They want me to lose because they will own the United States if I lose. Iran. President Obama gave them $150 billion for nothing. And almost more incredibly, he gave them $1.8 billion in green cash, beautiful cash. And now they're not doing so well, are they? They're not doing so well. Someday we're going to get credit for this. Someday. But they are waiting. Iran wants to make a deal so badly. But they're told by Kerry and all these other, they shouldn't, the Logan Act. But they're told by Kerry and all these people, wait, because if Trump loses, you'll own America. You're going to own it. They'll say you own it. So I don't mind. I told them, we can wait. But when I win, you're going to pay a much higher price than if you made a deal now. It's true. True. Told them. I told him. And look what happened to Biden in Ukraine, where his son's paid $83,000 a month and he was jobless. Give me a break. $83,000 a month, more than anybody. If Joe Biden were to become president, an emboldened left will launch a full-scale assault on American life. You know that. They'll expel anyone who disagrees with them. Look what happens when you disagree. You use a term that's perfect and they're not happy with it. They call you a racist. They call you a horrible person. They want to crush religious liberty. They don't want religion. Silence religious believers, indoctrinate your children with hateful and vicious lies about our country, subsidize late-term abortion and after-birth execution. They want to take away your guns through the repeal of your Second Amendment as sure as you're sitting there. In fact, he even put the big gun grabber, Beto O'Rourke, who made a fool out of himself when he ran for president, they put him in charge of guns. Lots of luck on your Second Amendment. Just remember I said it. Hopefully you won't have to think back about it too much, because it won't matter. Hopefully it won't matter. No, Beto O'Rourke, who wants to give up guns, is in charge of the Second Amendment. The Dems will also eliminate private health insurance, ban fracking, that's not good, and American energy will be in a position of weakness like it's never been before, and that's after we built the greatest energy country anywhere in the world by far. And they want to appoint Supreme Court justices who will utterly obliterate your Constitution. And you now see how important the Supreme Court is. Think if we didn't have two justices that I think have been very, very, very good. But think how important it is. Think how important it is. And we still, I guess it's, I don't know if it's an equal court. It's almost like we're a minority court, right? It's almost like we're a minority court. The recent Supreme Court cases prove that if Joe Biden is elected, he will stack the court with extremists and the forgotten men and women. Together with everyone else, we'll lose everything. The forgotten men and women. I campaigned on the forgotten. These are great people. These are substantial people. These are the elite. By the way, you're the elite. They're not the elite. You're the elite. They said, somebody 2 days ago said, sir, the elite are really working hard on trying to destroy you. I said, yeah. Why do you call them the elite? I said, why? Well, they're not elite. I look better than them. Much more handsome. Got better hair than they do. I got nicer properties. I got nicer houses. I got nicer apartments. I got nicer everything. I ran for politics once, just once in my life, and I became president of the United States. Once. Just once. And hopefully, if you get out and vote, we'll do it one more time. We won't even toy with them about 3 or 4 more times. We won't. We'll do it one more time. We'll be 2 for 2, and our country will never, ever be stronger. But I'll be soon announcing a new list of exceptional candidates for the United States Supreme Court, and I'll choose only from that list 100%, probably 25 incredible people, any one of which could be a great justice, any one of which. And I did it last time, and people loved when I did it, and I'll only pick from that list. Biden can't release his list because the names would be too extreme, too radical. They wouldn't be acceptable, but they will be very radical people. People don't understand, but we actually won on DACA yesterday. We actually won because they basically said, you won, but you have to come back and redo it. It's almost like, gee, come on back, your paperwork was no good. But we're going to be refiling, but don't let it get you. Everything's going to work out really good. Everything's going to work out good. It was great. I mean, it would have been nice if we won it. Everybody said, oh, you're going to win DACA. You're going to win DACA. That's easy. You got to win DACA. That's easy. They all said it. And they came back and they said, we don't like what you did with your paperwork, essentially, right? So we're refiling it. Most people would say, oh, we lost. We didn't lose. We're going to refile it. And everything is going to work out for the young people most of whom aren't so young anymore, by the way. But we're going to work it out for everybody. Biden is fully controlled by the fringe of his party. He is their pawn. He doesn't even know where the hell he is, let's face it. He installed socialists, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to be in charge of his environmental policy and his energy. You can forget petroleum. How does Oklahoma feel about being petroleum-free? Not good, right? Our country will have no energy. Our country will have nothing. Oklahoma, Texas, North Dakota, and many others will all be out of business. I don't think that's going to work out too well, but she's actually in charge of environmental policy, and you know what that means. She doesn't even want wind. She doesn't want those bird-killing machines that go round and round. You want to see a lot of birds that are dead? Go under a windmill sometime. She wants us to go back to the Stone Ages because she's got no sense, no credentials. She's got a little charisma, not much, but she doesn't have a clue. You know it. But she's in charge of the environment. No airplanes. We can forget Boeing, I guess, come to think of it, right? We talked about Boeing. We could forget Boeing. Let's cancel those brand new Air Force Ones, right? Likewise, Representative Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is going to be very much involved in a Biden government. They will put this hate-filled, America-bashing socialist front and center in deciding the fate of your family and deciding the fate of your country. I don't think so. She would like to make the government of our country just like the country from where she came, Somalia. No government, no safety, no police, no nothing, just anarchy. And now she's telling us how to run our country. No thank you. And I think we're going to have a big victory in the state of Minnesota because they've had it. They've had it. Biden is a very willing Trojan horse for socialism. When Biden first ran for president over 33 years ago, remember I used to call him 1% Joe. He never got more than 1%. Until Obama took him off the trash heap. But he blatantly copied the speech of a British politician, even ripping off the man's personal biography and family history and claiming it was his own. He forgot to say he was born in America. Joe Biden is a shameless hypocrite. Since 2003, he has delivered fawning eulogies to the funeral and at those funerals of 3 leading supporters of segregation, including a former member of the KKK. And yet Biden is now smearing as racist tens of millions of people like yourselves, decent, hardworking Americans who he's never met, and he frankly probably doesn't want to meet. America should not take lectures on racial justice from Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe. A man who praised and partnered with segregationists, shipped millions of black American jobs overseas, and everyone else's jobs too, by the way. If I didn't come along, we're building auto plants, we're building everything. And there's never been a comeback like we're making right now. Never been. He hollowed out our middle class, including our black middle class, with open borders, trapped young children in failing government schools, built cages. Those cages were built by Obama and Biden. Look it up, 2014. And the fake news doesn't want to remember the picture of a cage for children. Remember the picture of the cage? And they said, President Trump. And then they realized that was in a newspaper, 2014, the same. built by Obama and Biden, the cages. And they don't want to report the way it is. They know the way it is. They're not stupid. They sent young boys to fight in Iraq while the inner cities crumbled, helped the big banks while hammering community leaders, and made our cities less safe and secure for all. They've done a terrible job, and they shouldn't be awarded. They should not get rewarded with an election victory on November 3rd. That shouldn't happen. It'll destroy this country. Our country will be destroyed. We've all worked too hard. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Some do, actually, but in a very sinister way. Virtually every policy that has hurt black Americans for half a century, Joe Biden has supported or enacted. I've done more for the black community in 4 years than Joe Biden has done in 47 years. Racial justice begins with Joe Biden's retirement from public life. We are joined tonight by many outstanding Republican leaders. These are great people. We have two of our most distinguished, hardworking, wonderful friends, senators. They do a great job. Senator Jim Inhofe and James Lankford, please stand up. Two very respected, I will tell you, two very respected people in Washington. They're respected by everybody. They do some job, and I'd have you come up, but you can relax. I will say this. Jim is running on November 3rd. Jim Inhofe. He's running on November 3rd. I don't even know. Does he, hey, James, does he have any competition? Is somebody actually running against? There's no competition that he's got. I know he's got James's support. He's got my support. I give him 100% endorsement. Jim Inhofe. I give it to James, too, but he's not running this time. Thank you. Jim, great job. Thank you very much. What a great senator he is. Also here is a man who's respected by so many. He's a little bit right of the people we've been talking about tonight. Senator Tom Cotton of the great state of Arkansas. Thank you, Tom. They like you people. Thank you, Tom. Great job you're doing. We're glad to be joined as well by a man that I've gotten to know. He's done an incredible job with COVID and with everything else he touches. Governor Kevin Stitt. Thank you both. Thank you both for being here. Thank you. Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. And Representatives Frank Lucas, Tom Cole, he's been here for a little while. He's done an incredible job. Mark Wayne Mullen, you don't want to fight with him. I want to put him and Jim Jordan in a match together. I want to. Kevin Hearn, great job today, Kevin. The great Jim Jordan, Elise Stefanak. Lee Zeldin. Tom Emmer. Tom, thank you. These are warriors, folks. These are great warriors. During the fake impeachment trial, I'll tell you what, there was nobody that could have done the job they've done. That includes the Senate and the House. These people are incredible. David Kutzoff. David. A great friend of mine, Debbie Lesko, Arizona. Great job, Debbie. Great job. And a man who's got very good genes, Greg Pence. Thank you all. Great job. They're great people. They are. They're warriors. I'll tell you what. Not every person is, but this group is, and we have a lot of them in Washington. And we'll send Jim Inhofe back, and we'll send all of them. You'll send every one of them. They have to come back because they have been fighting for us, and they've been fighting for you. And they are just incredible, talented, tough, strong people that love your state a lot. So thank you very much. So we built the greatest single economy in the world. And then we say, not only the world, but actually in the history of the world, and they never even challenged me, so I guess I'm right. We did it. We had the best numbers anybody's ever had. We had the best employment numbers. African American, Hispanic American, Asian American. The best employment numbers in history. The best stock market numbers in history. We were the envy of the world. Everybody would come in to see me. Presidents, prime minister, kings, queens, and dictators. Dictators would even come in and say, congratulations on the economy. And then the plague came in, and now what we're doing is we're doing it again, and it's going fast. We have to have a lot of it done because people don't quite get it. We're doing record business. It's happening at a level and a speed that nobody can believe. 2 weeks ago, job numbers came in. The single biggest number in the history of our country. Last week, retail sales numbers came in. Retail sales, the single greatest number in the history of our country. So here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. They blame a president for anything. When you see looters, even though we put them down, if we didn't stop them, nobody would, because the other side will never stop them. But they always blame a president. Here's what's happening. We're going up, we're going up, we're going up, we're going to go up. Then we're going to hit October. We're going to be up. We're going to be way up. We're not going to be where we were, but in many ways, other than all of the horrible, horrible death that was so needlessly caused by a virus that should have been stopped where it originated, which was China. But we're going to go up, 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 August, September, October, and people are going to say, man, this guy's doing a good job. He knows what he's doing. I don't believe the fake news anymore. And you're not going to want to lose your 401ks, and you're not going to want to lose all of that wealth that you've accumulated, whether it's real estate wealth or any wealth you can think, because it'll all come tumbling down if these people are put in charge, and if they double and triple and quadruple your taxes. It'll be a whole different ballgame. So I'm not putting any pressure on anybody, but in the end, we're going to have a phenomenal economy. And next year, we're going to have a good third quarter. But next year, and I said it before, will be the single greatest year economically that we've ever had, okay? And if you see that happening, if you see it happening on November 3rd, you don't have the guts to vote against Trump. Even you don't have the guts to vote against Trump. Say, wait a minute, darling, my 401k is higher than it was the last time. I don't think I want to take a chance. You're not going to want to do that. The stock market has been the best. Think of this. Go back 1 week and go back 50 days. In that 50-day period, it's the strongest 50 days in the history of the stock market. Think of it. And your wife or your husband says, darling, I love you so much. You are such a great investor. And all you did is just keep the same crap you had the first time, right? Darling, I love you so much. You've always been a loser. You've always lost money. But now under President Trump, you're one of the greatest financial minds in our country. And all you did was keep your stock. Now, if you think you're going to run against, oh, they're going crazy. They want the stock market to go down, even if it costs them money. They want the stock market to go down, even if it costs them money. And they don't even know why. You know what? They're smart and they're vicious, but they don't know why. I'm telling you, they don't know why. What's wrong with having the strongest military brand new in the world all built? What's wrong with having these great economic numbers? What's wrong with having to close it down? We saved millions of lives. You know, a lot of people say we should have gone herd. Let's go herd. Ask them, how are they doing in Brazil? He's a great friend of mine. Not good. You heard about Sweden, right? 2 months. Ask them how they doing in Sweden. We saved millions of lives, and now it's time to open up, get back to work, okay? Get back to work. I recently signed groundbreaking criminal justice reform. I secured record and permanent funding for historically black colleges and universities. We slashed regulations and passed massive tax cuts to give black workers a pay raise like they've never, ever gotten before, and lift up black-owned businesses. And I worked closely with a great senator also, friend of theirs, Senator Tim Scott, South Carolina, to create opportunity zones, which are doing incredibly. And since then, countless jobs and $100 billion of new investment, not government investment, have poured into 9,000 of our most distressed neighborhoods anywhere in the country. 9,000. Never happened before. Tim Scott. Today, I'm also announcing that I have directed Secretary of the Interior David Bernhardt to place the John Hope Franklin Reconciliation Park here in Tulsa on the African American Civil Rights Network. So many of my friends have been asking me to do that. So many of my friends, including these great politicians. So we're going to do that. It'll be done very quickly. We will forever remember and honor the courageous people who helped build this state and this country. Democrats are stoking division in order to distract from their decades of failure on schools, jobs, housing, justice, and crime. In major city public schools run by Democrats, over 2/3 of students are falling behind in reading and math, and I think the numbers are worse than that. But Democrats would rather deny these children the future they deserve than allow them to attend the charter, public, private, religious, or independent schools of their choice. Pro-choice. Pro-choice. Pro-choice for schools. It's very popular, but some people it's like a disaster because what it does to certain unions that have a lot of power over the Democrats, even though they know it's wrong. Republicans believe access to education is a civil right. It's a civil right. 20 of the most dangerous cities in America are controlled by Democrats. Think of that. 20 of 20. And so is nearly every major city with a child poverty rate that's over 30%. They're controlled by Democrats. We can name every one of them. The murder rate in Baltimore and Detroit is higher than El Salvador, Guatemala, or even Afghanistan. How are they doing, the Democrats running those cities? Your whole country will be like that. In 2018 alone, our police arrested nearly 12,000 people for murder and manslaughter. 25,000 people for rape, and nearly 1.5 million for assault, violent assault. The Democrats' push against our police will drive up crime and drive up costs at levels you'd never believe. Thousands of innocent lives will be lost. As president, I will always support the incredible men and women of law enforcement. A vote for Republicans is a vote for better schools, better jobs, safer families, and stronger communities for all Americans. There is a limit to what we can together achieve with 4 more years. With your help, we will lift millions of our citizens from welfare to work, dependence to independence, and poverty to prosperity. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And that was happening at a level that nobody ever thought they'd see. It was happening before this COVID came in. It was happening at a level that nobody believed possible. And then China sent us the plague. Thank you very much. We will protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors, and will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions, always, always. We will appoint more judges to interpret the Constitution as written. We will end deadly sanctuary cities. We will finish the wall, which has now 212 miles built and beautiful. 212 miles, that's a lot of miles. And let me tell you, you think that was an easy one? That was a tough one. That party was totally unified against building the wall. You know, in the end, they gave up. You know what happened? They realized it was a bad issue for them because these open borders, I love when they fight for open borders, because anybody that wants an open border coming in from rough areas, there's something wrong with those people. So did you notice in the end, it was like, just leave us alone, build your wall, just leave us alone. I said, thank you very much. And we will elect a Republican Congress to create a fair, safe, sane, and lawful system of immigration that puts American workers first. We will revitalize our cities, and we will build gleaming new roads, bridges, tunnels, and airports all across our land. We will enact new trade deals that result in more products proudly stamped with that beautiful phrase, made in the USA. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. Made in the USA. That's happening too. We have so many plants coming into Michigan and so many other states. We have car plants coming in, would have never come if I wasn't president, would have never come. We will become the world's premier pharmacy, drugstore, and medical manufacturer. That's already started. We're bringing it back. We will keep America out of foolish, stupid, ridiculous foreign wars. We will never hesitate to kill America's terrorist enemies. You know, when I took over, ISIS was all over the place. And I did something that I felt we should do. And we have now obliterated, we have now captured 100% of the ISIS caliphate. 100. And like our depleted military when I took over, like our empty shelves medically when I took over, like all of the things that when I took over it was a mess, we have done a job. You had to see what ISIS was doing. They were getting bigger, 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 bigger. I came in smaller, smaller, smaller. Sir, we've just taken 100%. We will launch a new age of American ambition in space, and the United States will be the first nation to land on Mars. Good program. You saw the beautiful rocket 3 weeks ago go up. Beautiful. We will defend privacy, free thought, free speech, religious liberty, and the right to keep and bear arms. And when you see those lunatics all over the streets, it's damn nice to have arms. Damn nice. Interesting how all of a sudden people understand it, right? You couldn't sell it. Now people understand it. The right to keep and bear arms will protect your Second Amendment. Above all, we will never stop fighting for the sacred values that bind us together as one America. We will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. We uphold the principle of equal justice under the law. We believe in the dignity of work and the sanctity of life. We believe that faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, are the true American way. We believe that children should be taught to love our country, honor our history, and always salute our great American flag. And we live by the words of our national motto, it will never change. In God we trust. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, blazed the trails, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, dug out the Panama Canal, laid down the railroads, revolutionized industries, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America the single greatest nation in the history of the world, and we are making it greater and greater every single day. Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning the power to you, the American people. With your help, your devotion, and your drive, we are going to keep on working. We are going to keep on fighting. And we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning.
Winning.
We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. America will soon be thriving like never before because, ladies and gentlemen of Oklahoma, the best is yet to come.
Yes! The best is yet to come, my friends.
Together we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you, Oklahoma. Thank you.
I've got chills. Oh, man. Oh, you guys. Oh, what an incredible rally tonight. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that was exactly what I needed. President Trump laid it all out. I feel it is very clear Just like I've been saying, I think that America needed to see exactly what was in store for them if we went back to Democrat rule. And now, firmly, the people understand. I see absolutely no future where America is not led by President Donald Trump. Incredible. Ooh, I need to change my ratios there. What an incredible rally, you guys. That was the best that I have seen in quite a long time. You know, I feel like President Trump was on fire tonight. He was just swinging the entire time. He knew exactly what he needed to say, and I feel that America needed to hear it. Well, you know, I'm feeling really, really good, guys. That was so incredible. Thank you for being here with me, but don't go anywhere, because my good friend Neon Revolt is coming up next. We're going to be talking about the state of America, about the plan, and about the future of our country. Neon, are you there with me, buddy? I am so good. Well, listen, you know, most importantly, Neon, what did you think about that rally? Yeah. Please tell me. Yes, yes. Ooh, that is not something that I thought, but that would be certainly something he'd have the power to do, wouldn't it? Oh, Neon, I'm sorry, buddy. I had you muted. I am so sorry. Listen, let's do another introduction to Neon. Neon, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Neon was just beginning to tell me what the important things that he took away from the rally. And Neon, you said his comment about Supreme Court justices. Please, now that the audience can hear you, tell us why you thought that that was something that was so important.
Well, the thing is, there are 9 Supreme Court justices, but there's no explicit rule that says anywhere how many there have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when he mentioned that he had a list of 25 and they were all great candidates, it made me wonder if he's not thinking of adding more, because he said it in conjunction with another comment that was, we're kind of at a minority court right now. We're kind of a minority state. And especially with some of the rulings we saw this last week, I think we all felt that quite a bit. I know I could tell from the rally themselves when he mentioned Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, they were kind of like, you know, a little bit. They were like, okay, we'll do the obligatory clap, the golf clap. But when he mentioned that, the minority court and then his whole list, it made me wonder, is he going to go all out and maybe add 3, 4, 5 more justices at any given moment? I think he might be considering it, because he has all the ability in the world to do that.
And what would that take? Would that just be an executive order, or would that be some other type of regulatory magic that he would have to pull?
I think he would have to get approval from the Senate.
Okay.
Beyond that, I really don't know. I don't know the minutia of that. You're going to have to ask a lawyer.
All right. All right. And any law fairies in the audience that can tell us exactly what that would take for President Trump to bring on 2, 3, 4, 5 more conservative Supreme Court judges? You know, I mean, that is certainly something that is a possibility. You know, I mean, it's been one of those things that seemed like that number, although arbitrary, was kind of sacrosanct, and nobody had, you know, seriously considered adding additional judges. It's something I've heard bandied around before. I haven't heard President Trump mention additional SCOTUS in the past. Have you ever heard him talk about the possibility before?
He's never mentioned it, but real quick, Red Pill, some people are saying in the chat that I'm still muted. I don't know exactly what's going on. Let's just make sure before we continue.
You are definitely not muted. What it is you are a little bit quieter than me, so let me turn that up. But also, always remember, you're going to have some people who are a couple of minutes behind in the chat. Why don't you... Let me get a
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, all right. So that's a little bit too loud. Yeah, sorry. Normally, we would have done an audio-video test, but this is totally my bad. I was running a little bit behind, and then with the POTUS's... Yeah, I can hear you both. Everybody can hear us both.
Okay, just flying by the seat of our pants here. That's okay.
Yeah, you know, I mean, hey, this is the beauty of live television, and, you know, honestly, I was just so excited. I mean, You know, I said that I needed it. I can tell that a lot of other people in the audience needed it. You know, we've gone far too long without POTUS giving us a rally. Every time he goes on stage, he brings that just unique, incredible enthusiasm. He knows how to work up a crowd better than anyone else. And one of the major things about his campaign, his continuing campaign, that I think has you know, been a very positive thing for us and for the movement, has been his ability to speak and communicate directly to us. You know, Twitter, obviously, super important. Every single day he's getting his message directly to us, but there's something different with a rally. When he can go on stage and he can pump up the crowd, he can talk about all of the good things that have happened, all the things that we're planning on doing, the importance of making sure he is reelected in November. When he can bypass the press and speak directly to us and just talk crap, talk smack to the press, you know, just embarrass them to their faces on live television, and they can't do a thing about it. You know, it's not like a presser in the White House. It's not like a press conference where, you know, they can interrupt him and they can be rude, and, you know, Jim Acosta can, you know, steal the mic and you know, make sure that he gets his SJW points across. President Trump, he controls the whole 2 hours. And, you know, I think that it's something that was sorely missing. And I believe, you know, there was definitely a bit of thoughtfulness and planning on behalf of, you know, the people who gave us this plague that we've been going through for the last couple of months. They knew that if President Trump couldn't speak directly to us and give us that just incredible gift that he has when he's commanding a crowd, that it would bring people down. I think it has brought people down. But with this return to rallies, I think that we're entering a new phase, especially in this election cycle. And I needed it. I think other people needed it. You know, what do you think? Do you think that this is going to give you some level of hope and optimism now, being able to have President Trump speak to us directly?
Oh, you know, I will say I'm not as excited as you are,
okay,
which is perfectly fine. But I do think it's good because it felt like he got the ball rolling again tonight.
Yeah.
It felt like he's starting to pick up momentum again. I think that's really going to be important for the coming months.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
obviously, now the next step is the cabal and the left are going to try to stop that, but I don't think they're going to be able to. You know, Trump is a human wrecking ball, and he's a immaculate showman. So when he does his rallies, that plays to his strong suits.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, what about the other portions of the speech that you thought were rather important? What else stood out to you?
Oh, gee, what stood out to me? I have to say, I think we've heard a lot of this before, and especially for us in the Q movement, we track things so closely that it's hard for anything to be genuinely new. But I like that he addressed all what's going down in with Antifa in Seattle. It actually struck me that he said, you know, if you call me in, you know, we'll have this handled in an hour. Yeah. And he seemed very confident about that hour. So that would be interesting to see how that would play out. But it makes me wonder, you know, what step now will the enemy take? Well, how will they handle this situation where they have an entire part of their city occupied? And you know, we've seen other instances of this around the country where Portland, although they were recently dismantled, they tried to get one going there. And we'll obviously we'll see what happens. But how do they manage this kind of autonomous community that doesn't obey the law and which just had, I think, its first killing last night?
Oh, they did?
The police had to be called in for that.
Oh,
so I mean, and we've all seen the footage. We've seen the craziness coming out of there. I saw a footage the other day of like some homeless guy walking around with a machete yelling at people in the tents inside the Chaz or the Chop, whatever they're calling it now.
The Suck.
So the what?
I said the Suck. Chaz, Chop. So I actually I don't remember what the acronym stood for, but I saw that someplace. You know, you could actually
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean I know what Chaz stands for, but I mean if you were to call it the Suck, like somebody had actually like created an acronym that would work. And it's like an afterthought. I just throw it in there as an afterthought.
Got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, beyond that, I at first I was a little upset because he wasn't addressing it. It's like it was almost like the elephant in the room for me. It was like, okay, we've got all this, you know, discontent and turmoil going on in the country. Say something about it. But I'm so glad he eventually did. I would have, if it was me, but I'm obviously I'm not Trump. I would have addressed it earlier, but that's, he's the master showman. So maybe I can learn something here.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great point. And I mean, everybody deals with something differently. And to Trump's credit, it was not the only issue in the country. There's a lot going on at any given moment. And, I really give President Trump a lot of credit for the way he handles mostly, everything. Because I feel like he does a good job of balancing it. Even if he doesn't address it, immediately or when we want it to happen, it still gets brought up. And there is generally a solution, overall. Was there anything else that really caught your attention?
I gotta say, no, not really. I mean, we've heard a lot of this stuff before. It was from a lot of this script from his previous rallies, which is fine. People need to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
But apart from the Supreme Court and him addressing just the state of the nation, that was really, I felt that was all that was new.
All right.
For us,
I agree with you there. I thought that he was in really good form in terms of his delivery. The comedic element of the speech was just on point. His timing was great. And it draws a stark contrast between him and Joe Biden. He talked about Sleepy Joe. Obviously, he always does. He's got to bring him up a little bit, and it's always to denigrate him. But President Trump, the way that he does command that room and the way that he speaks, he's quick on his feet. He knows how to read a teleprompter. I feel like he's gotten a lot better with that. His form has just increased in a positive way, whereas we see Joe Biden just slipping away every day, just a chip at a time. Every time he's on television, every time that he does a video, every time there's a public appearance, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the contrast, could not be any more stark than it was tonight. Joe Biden is still essentially missing. He really isn't out there. And I saw some picture the other day from a school gymnasium in some state. I don't know, maybe it was Iowa. And there was 3 people in the room. It was literally a bunch of empty chairs, and he didn't, have anything, revelatory to say. His delivery is weak and stale. He has no policies. He has zero foundation. President Trump made an excellent point, pointing out his staggering record of nothingness, 47 years, and essentially all of the problems in the country. You can look at Joe Biden, and he had an active role in developing those problems. And so now President Trump is undoing all of that stuff. Now to the point of he made of essentially like showing everyone, this situation that we find ourselves in, this is representative of what the country would be like if we were under Democrat rule. Okay, it would be absolute lawlessness. It would be escape from LA across the entire country. And, they would probably be begging for a wall at that point just so that they could, have some level of protection. Because if President Trump and the party and, this administration that he's put into place, if they weren't here to protect us, then we would have these limp-wristed people like Jay Inslee potentially as our leaders, and they've got no spine, they've got no backbone, and everything in these Democrat-run cities is awful. He said that he thinks that in Minnesota, he thinks they're going to have a big turnout for Republicans come November, and I think he's right. I think that everyone having gone through this experience of actually witnessing what these policies look like when they're put into action, it is frightening for a vast majority of people. What do you think about that?
I've been a little black-pilled on this issue because I tend to think that, and I think at a certain point we have to be honest too. Look at the attendance in the rally tonight. The rally was not full. At best, I think we could say it was probably about half full.
I actually didn't see the seating before it started.
Yeah, I have some screenshots of it up on social media. You guys can take a look and judge for yourselves. If you scroll back in, I know the Fox News feed was showing it right after Pence was speaking. And we don't, obviously, they zoom in. We don't know how many people were filtering in throughout the night. But I felt like the stadium, it looked like it was about half full, which was a little bit shocking for a rally that supposedly had 1 million RSVPs. Apparently, there's been news of some trolling that was going on where a lot of leftists claim tickets in order to inflate the numbers, and then had no intention of going up, and this would serve to dissuade people from showing out or for showing up for the rally. And then, of course, you have, obviously, I mean, we're dealing with normies here. You have people concerned about Corona. You have people concerned about, Antifa, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So I think numbers were a little normally suppressed from where they would naturally be otherwise. But at the same time, I tend to think they weren't where they should have been either. And I just think that's I think there's some fumbles that have been made along the way, some strategic fumbles, and I really hope that Trump course corrects. I think, and that's one of his strengths. Let's be honest, he course corrects all the time. But it's been a little tough for me to watch. I'll just be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's obviously one of the things we want to talk about. I mean, it's a perfect time to bring it up. So, you put out a couple of posts on Gab the other day, having, perhaps a crisis of confidence and conscience, and to your credit, I mean, you put it out there that you were having some misgivings. You said, I'm on the verge. You didn't say, I am blackpilled. You didn't say, I'm anti-Trump or I flipped on the movement. But, you caught some flack. I mean, there was, a number of people out there who were saying that, oh, Neon is talking about his misgivings. He's a paid shill. How long has Neon been waiting to flip on us?
Right. Right.
And I personally, I don't think that was a fair, characterization of your comments. I mean, if anybody read it, the misgivings that you have and that you've voiced, I mean, they're fair. I can understand that. But from my point of view, I mean, I do see a strategic element to the way that it's playing out. I mean, you go to, to a Republican area, someplace where it's relatively safe because, you've got law and order in place and people who have the, the smarts to bear some arms, and they're not going to let those lefties in black come in and destroy their homes or destroy their businesses. What was it? Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I believe, down the entire length of the street, you had, patriots like us out there with their rifles. The only place that you saw just this horrific stuff going on was in, the leftist-run areas, And so, I want you to talk about what you said in those posts and, where your head was at. And I also want everybody to remember that what you see online, what we put out is only a fraction of our lives, There's always extenuating circumstances taking place, and what's going on right now. This can be rough for people. I had a bit of a problem the last couple weeks. I was happy to talk about it. I mean, I felt like I had to, but please tell us what was going on.
My biggest thing, I think, is just I wonder if this whole strategy of letting people see Democrat chaos isn't backfiring on Trump. I wonder if I've seen, frankly, on a lot of social media, people blaming Trump for the chaos. And I see a lot of his base getting, people who voted for him in 2016 and who were amazing memers and, anons getting furious with Trump because he's seemingly not doing anything. And I understand the predicament Trump is in. You have a situation like Seattle. If he sends the troops in, he's going to look like a dictator. Right. Yep. And he cannot send the troops in unless he is asked. So he basically has to hold off. Until the situation gets so bad that the people force the state representatives to act, essentially. But again, I wonder if this isn't backfiring on him because I've seen so much anger and so much frustration from his base, especially. And the big thing for me alongside that was just the feeling of being used by Q. If I can be quite completely blunt about that, because, I've said many times, I'm not a civic nationalist. I don't agree with some of the things Q says, but there's the feeling sometimes that he just wants us to be Trump's digital propaganda wing, if that makes sense. And I personally, I don't appreciate being used, but at the same time, I want to trust Q. I want to trust their intentions. I want to see this through to the end. I'm not going anywhere. Of course, in response to that post, people have to understand the post was in a whole line of posts following a conversation that I'd been jumping in and out of for maybe the better part of a week or 2 weeks at that point, because that's what happens. You know, it's people. What ended up happening with that post was people screenshot parts of it. And it was, I call them the Quizlings because they're media traders. You're talking about Ben Collins over at NBC. You're talking about Travis View, who's Washington Post adjacent. You're talking about Mike Rothschild. I call him Gamma Rothschild. They all took partial screenshots, and they were like, oh, look, you know, even Q's biggest fans are turning on him. They're losing faith, yada, yada, yada. And of course, people are like, oh, you know, be careful who you follow. Oh, he's a patriot. How dare you sell your book if you're turning on Q? How, you know, it's like, I'm not turning on Q. I'm voicing my concerns. And the way I've always felt about it was because of the particularly, I mean, I occupy sort of a different space in the Q movement. I consider myself a total anon, but I have a big presence. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And there have been times, and I pointed this out in a recent article, where Q has not only quoted me, but basically directly responded in so many words. At least this is the way I see it. You know, you feel free to make your own conclusion, but I see, you know, people see me as a leader. I see myself as an anon. And when I see myself as an anon, I just see myself as giving feedback. And I feel like so many times, especially if you go on the board's Q posts and it's all just, you know, people cheering and lauding and praising, and it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily give him what he needs to know. And it's like, maybe he needs to know how people are reacting, how people are, you know, really feeling about this stuff. And it can't, you know, if you're in the battle, you have to give an accurate report of what's happening on the front lines. That's the way I feel about it at the end of the day. And of course, if the battle report looks negative, people take the quotes out of context and then they run with it and they try to exploit it for their own ends. In this case, it was basically Mockingbird guys, these Quizlings, trying to discredit the movement, trying to discredit me, trying to drive division. And then actually some prominent Q people went and ran with it as well. I don't know if we can talk about that here. I don't know if you even want me to touch on that.
I don't even want to name anybody. You know, I mean, it's the same kind of thing that happens all the time, you know? So
we'll just say this. There was somebody who was very vengeful and angry, and they were more than happy to declare to the entire Q community that I was a traitor and that I had turned or insinuate as much. And of course, they do it on Twitter where I can't respond because I'm permanently banned from Twitter.
Right.
So it's like, and they could jump on Gab. They could jump on. I'm on Parler now too. They could jump on Parler, but they choose not to because they know that I'm not going to be able to hit back. So they can say whatever they want with impunity.
Right.
And unfortunately, you know what? People don't come to Gab to check the context. They don't come to read the full post. They just see a post on Twitter and they go, "Oh, I knew that guy was bad news." Blah blah blah, which was unfortunate. You know, I wish people would dig a little deeper, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Well, you know what? Here's my take on it. You know, we tout the beauty of freedom of speech all the time. And just because we are a part of a movement or a part of a group, in my estimation, doesn't mean that we should be unable to speak our minds.
Right.
And when we're in a situation like this where, you know, I felt very dark, very down the last couple of weeks, you know, I felt like every time I went on to try to cover something in the news, all it was just, you know, rioting and destruction. And at the same time, I'm waiting for President Trump to make a move. You know, I'm, you know, preternaturally optimistic. Okay. I do my best to look out as far as I can and to keep, you know, a real 40,000 foot view about all this stuff. So, you know, at no point have I ever truly believed that we were being used or that things weren't going to work out. But I have had those moments where I felt like things were so dark and I, you know, prayed that it wasn't going to get any worse and that the bounce back was going to come sooner rather than later. But, you know, as leaders, quote unquote, in this movement, you know, people look at what we say and, you know, maybe they take it a little bit more seriously or, you know, I guess more deeply in a manner of speaking than what other people might say. So I feel like that kind of stifles the ability for someone in a position like yours to be able to speak their mind, to talk about whatever, anger or sadness or misgivings you might be having. And I think that that's too bad. I think that when we are able to speak our minds, like, I came out and I said, you guys, I'm really down. I'm having a hard time with what's going on. And the audience rallied around me and told me, that we're all here for each other still. It doesn't matter what happens. We already know the end. I truly do believe that we are going to win. So just keep your head up and keep trudging on. So I wish that that people who spoke out against you could have done the same for you. And maybe it was because you didn't have this daily broadcast that you were doing, to make that more obvious and just immediate for you. But you definitely also had people who were waiting on you to go ahead and say something that was a slip up in their mind so that they could go ahead and use it to attack you. Those guys at that podcast, I don't remember their names. I don't want to give them the airtime. But this is the kind of thing that they scan for. They're just waiting for someone in our position or, anybody in our movement to say, gosh, I wish things were different, but I feel that, honestly, we should be able to speak our minds, and we should be able to have that freedom of speech and to be allowed to do that without the attacks coming after us. Because I'm sure that didn't help. I'm sure that made things, even worse for your state of mind in that moment to see, all of these angry voices coming after you and saying, you shouldn't say this, or you can't say this, you're not allowed to say this. But I always try to remind myself that for all the, individual people who are out there who are going to be talking back to us, you cannot lose sight of the fact that there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of infiltrators in this movement, or just straight up bots who are there to amplify the negative stuff, who are there to make you feel as bad as you possibly can. So just whatever happens and whatever direction we're going, I want to make sure that you remember that, okay? Because there are many, many people out there who are probably not even really people, or who are liberals that maintain both a regular account and a conservative account, Media Matters employees. Their whole job is just to try to make us feel like crap, to get in our faces and say Trump is losing, you are losing, Q is not real, this whole thing is fake, and you should kill yourself. Something like that. So, yeah, so just remember that. But, yeah, I mean, this is something that I want everybody to understand, that, if we're going to tell people that, we should be able to have freedom of speech, and in my mind, I mean, I saying something horrible about someone can be considered freedom of speech, but I like to use my speech in such a manner so that I don't attack people, or I don't infringe upon their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I just suggest that people try to do the same, because the world is a much better place. There's a place for talking smack. I mean, on the boards it gets pretty feisty and pretty spicy, but.
Oh, I could talk about that. I could talk about some of the things I know about the shilling specifically against me on the boards. It is not organic. I can say that much for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
In fact, you know what?
Not.
I may just document at some point. I've gone back and forth on this. I'm definitely going to document some of the dishonest efforts that have been going on against me with proof. But I may also go into the broader history of the shilling against me, because honestly, I feel like I've been one of the most actively shilled against anons out there, if I can say that.
I know, I totally agree with you. I don't think that would hurt at all. I mean, I think that's a good idea, because I don't know that everybody appreciates the level of coordination that goes on to try to demoralize us.
Yeah, well, I mean, also it even comes from within, from very petty actors in the movement. So I can say that one of the board volunteers actively shills against me on 8kun. He does it with he gets on an anon account and he does it whenever my name is mentioned, or I'm not even posting. I don't use my name on the boards, but he'll say, "Oh, Neon's a patriot. Neon's a traitor." Blah blah blah. I was in the whole move over from Reddit to vote. some of you will know this. When we moved, it was a bit of a mess, unfortunately. And the community that was there did not appreciate the fact that there was a new subverse being made. And the mod of that old community had her fellow mods make sock puppets, which would then comment on anon forums on Vote. So there was no username. It was just a number and a comma, you know. And they said they would basically make threats in my name.
Oh,
so
wow.
what ended up happening was they would post, you know, to this mod, we're going to rape you and we're going to kill your kid. By the way, my name's Neon Revolt. That's what they so then I would get a whole bunch of shills coming to me saying, why did you threaten to rape this person and kill their kid? It's like, what are you guys talking about? I didn't do anything. But that's not the only examples I can give. There's a lot of that kind of thing from people ostensibly on our side. And the fact of the matter is I've been banned from Twitter, so I haven't been able to get my side of the story out. And other dishonest actors have been more than happy to push a narrative that just isn't true. And I think I'll be talking about that more in the future, but the thing comes, I mean, I've been accused of being a clown and a shill and a patriot from the very beginning, partially because I think my work is so high level. You know, people saw, for instance, the old Blacklist Anon posts, and they were like, who on earth could do that except a government agent? It's like,
you're threatening.
No.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah. I mean, I don't intend to be. I'm just doing what I do, you know, and what I've always tried to do, which is dispense truth and help the movement along. That's honestly all I want to do. And it's been that makes me a target, because I'm effective at it too.
Right. So
shills and even paid opposition. I had people from MAGA Coalition claiming it was actually I won't say the name, but he said, "Oh yeah, I paid Neon $16,000 in Bitcoin."
I saw
and
that.
He posted a screenshot of a transaction from a Bitcoin wallet. He never paid me. You can move Bitcoin to your own wallet and take a screen. That's what he did.
Right.
And then actually, the owner of MAGA Coalition told him, just to be clear, we never paid him, blah, blah, blah. He totally contradicted and backed off because he knew that if I wanted to pursue that in the court of law, I have total defamation case against him now.
Right.
And believe me, I've thought about doing it. But it's been frustrating when, especially like, you know, I wrote the book and people are like, oh, you're a patriot now. It's like, really? Why? Because I gave you a resource that's totally optional. Like, it's just, if you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. It's fine. Like I get it. And I feel like we're at a point now in the movement where everyone is now demanding conformity. We say, Q even says, think for yourself.
Yes.
And every time it seems I think for myself, I get jumped down, you know, people jumping down my throat because I'm not in agreement with them.
Yeah.
And so I get, instead of them trying to convince me or make an argument, you know, why I should see things a different way, they just say, oh, he's just X, Y, or Z, you know.
Oh, exactly.
Which is, it's like, you know what, if you want me to take you seriously, put your argument out there. Don't resort to insults. It's very simple. I'm not generally attacking people for no reason. You know, if I attack someone, it's because I've either been attacked or they're genuine bad actor who needs to be stopped for one reason or another, or called out for one reason or another.
Right. I mean, if you're backed into a corner, you know, you're not just going to sit there and cower.
No, of course not. But I think I'm really going to have to focus some effort on getting my side of the story out a little bit more, because the way I felt about it up until this point was that I didn't want to inject any unnecessary drama into the movement. If it meant just tanking the blows and keep moving forward, that's what I was going to do. But it's at a level now where I think I really need to address it so people can understand, because it's been at a level that I've not seen before.
Well, I mean, one reason that I think that that's a good idea is because when you don't put out that side of the story, all that people see is just the pain that comes out in your posts, and they don't understand why.
Sure.
You know, they look at you and they say, Neon wrote a book. You know, Neon is a successful guy. He's intelligent. He knows how to do these, you know, just incredible now videos, but incredible articles. And then you come out and you've got, you know, some anger and some angst behind your post, and then they don't understand what came to bring you to that point. So I think it's important for you to do that so that people have that full, well-rounded version of the story rather than just filling in the blanks on their own. And, you know, I shared an article today. Just the level of shillery all around has reached a fever pitch. You know, I've always said that the culture that has erupted as a result of, you know, the anonymity on social media, especially Twitter, is just, there's a level of evil there. You know, I mean, people are willing to do and say whatever they want, and oftentimes the most hurtful things they possibly can, because there's absolutely zero repercussion. You know, not everybody wants to get involved in a flame war. You know, it makes people not want to come out and, you know, put themselves out there. They don't want to say something that they're going to get attacked for. You know, and people should be able to ask questions. We should be able to go online to help each other out, to ask questions, to answer questions, to have discussions, to have debates. You know, and just because people don't agree with each other 100% of the time doesn't mean that you have to automatically attack them. You know, I see us, this movement, as a large, cohesive unit by and large, okay? We have many of the same goals in mind. We are moving towards very similar objectives, but every single person has their own unique take on it, you know, their own particular spin of the way they do it and the way that they're, you know, hoping that it ends up. To pretend that every single person who is, you know, considers themselves a part of this movement, that they should all have the exact same set of thoughts is just absolutely ridiculous, and it's unfair. Because we should.
It's what leftists do.
Exactly. That was what I was getting at. Yeah.
It's what Democrats do, is that they demand that kind of ideological conformity, and if you don't agree with them right off the way, they start tearing stuff down.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it, and that's the thing that that I'm worried about. You know, but I put this article out today. It was you know, that article from 2014. From The Intercept. Hold on, I'm going to get it pulled up, and I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat, because you guys, if you haven't read this article, then you need to, and it is super important. Hold on. Here we go. Here it is. God, you know what? I just got to say, Twitter is garbage on computer. Like, I can't get a post to stay in one spot long enough so that I can click on it. Okay, here we go. So I said, considering the levels of shillery lately, I thought it was a good time to remind everyone about their tactics. And this is an article from The Intercept 2014, How Covert Agents Infiltrate the Internet to Manipulate, Deceive, and Destroy Reputations. Okay? Now, this is, I believe that this was a part of a drop that came out in WikiLeaks back in 2014. But it talks about how they go about coordinating splits in popular movements, and the way that they can use pressure and tactics online to basically destroy people or destroy their reputations. And you know, I see this happening a lot. And some of it I know is, you know, orchestrated infiltration. And then other times I am fairly certain that it's just people who have been conditioned to act like this, which is the saddest thing. I feel like people have been pushed to this point and they don't even realize it. And I don't, by any means, I don't want anybody here to think that I'm generalizing, you know, the entire movement. I'm just saying that there are segments of people in the same way that there are segments of people in every group on the planet. And this is an excellent article, and I think that you guys should read it, because if you haven't yet, then I think a lot of the things that you see going on will make a lot more sense to you. So, you know, considering what happened, you know, I mean, has it changed your mind at all about speaking your mind in the future? I mean, has it, you know, put a damper on you feeling like you want to continue to do that?
Oh yeah, for sure. It makes me wonder why I'm doing any of it. Especially, sometimes I'll see other people talking about me. They won't mention my name specifically, and I think you've seen this clip. It was a couple of YouTubers who were like, "Oh, there's this guy out there, and he's never been queued, and that's why he's attacking us." And it's like, no, that's not why I say what I say. That's not why I do what I do. I'm not. Again, there's this is weird, like, just certain shill tactics. One of the favorites I've noticed is like, they'll say, "Oh, Neon, you have a big ego. You need to check your ego." It's like, because I tend to stand by my posts and I feel very certain about certain things, and that, again, I guess maybe this comes from people not realizing, if you're going to try to debate with me, you got to bring your A game. If you're going to try to convince me, you got to bring, all your evidence, because that's how I suss stuff out. I really need to see the whole case. And if you can convince me, great. But if you don't convince me, that's not my fault. That doesn't make, me have a gigantic ego. That means your arguments weren't good enough. So I think there's a bit of that coming in there, but definitely it makes me wonder, like, why should I publish an article for people who are just going to down the line say I'm a patriot, or say I'm a shill, or say I'm a CIA? Why should I, research? Yeah, see, here's a comment. So Neon Revolt is anti-Q. No, I'm not anti-Q. I'm not anti-Q at all. I provide feedback that sometimes the broader community is unwilling to state, because they feel like, oh, if I don't say the thing that's expected of me, that's sort of expected by peer pressure and the expectations of the community, then I'm speaking heresy. It becomes almost religious. It becomes a dogma. It becomes, where you have, you're not allowed to say certain things because it is heresy within the broader movement. And I think that's ironic, because it's the antithesis of what Q is trying to advocate here. He's trying to advocate for free thought and free speech. And, you're allowed to work things out for yourself if you need to.
Yeah.
I will say the biggest thing that's energized me lately has been doing the episodes for my show. I started a new show here on YouTube that's been actually a lot of fun and refreshing, and I can go off and focus on a little subject for a bit and investigate it and package up something. They take a lot of work. They really do. I don't know how you cram out, pump out so much content here, Red Pill, because it's a lot of work.
It is. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Well,
but it also is fun and rewarding. So it
is, and you've done a great job, and I really appreciate it. But to your point of dogmatic points of view, you're totally right. We often say trust the plan, and for me, it's a matter of faith. Okay, where I'm at with my own personal spiritual development allows me to take a look at what's taking place, and to say, even if there's nothing that I can point to at that moment, then I can say, I have faith that things are going to work out in the way that they need to, because I truly believe that where we're at in history, it's do or die. All right, this is a war. We are in the midst of it, and I know that there is so much happening behind the scenes. But I also force myself to take a look at what we can see and try to discern, which ways it could possibly go, and what is most likely, and, what is less likely. So
it's actually ironic you mentioned faith, because if it's okay, if I can touch on this.
Yeah, touch on it.
I would actually say that, and I've been tempted to write an article about this too. I would be tempted to say that a lot of Q's drops have actually destroyed my faith or eroded my faith. Because there are just questions that emerge that I don't have answers to, and I don't know how to synthesize a worldview. So, I'll mention two real quick. So, and hopefully people will follow my thought process, so they see that I'm not just empty shilling.
Yeah.
The looking glass. We understand the looking glass to be a piece of black site technology that shows probabilities in the future. As best as we understand it right now, that's what we think it is.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
This implies that whenever Q posts, they never thought she would lose. It's because they saw something in the looking glass that showed Hillary as president. right? That means the looking glass has a potential for inaccuracy between what we actually see in reality and what it shows. And when Q says trust the plan, it's because they have foreknowledge, which comes from the looking glass. My question is, how does Q know the looking glass is being accurate with them now?
Well, personally, I think that it is more than just the use of that tool, the looking glass.
Sure.
I think that's part of it, but I think that there are many other pieces to the machine that are in movement all the time. You think about, game theory, strategy. I mean, they have been working on all of the possible contingencies for so long. And I think that they have been pretending to be weak. I feel like right now what we've been experiencing with, it looks like Trump isn't doing anything. He's giving the appearance of weakness. He's allowing these people on the left to, just fall over themselves and destroy the country. But there's a plan in place behind the scenes. So it's not simply just relying on the foreknowledge of this potential future.
Sure. They have a lot of tools at their disposal. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, when we say trust the plan, it's that, we've got people at every level, many, many good men and women who are actively working on a daily basis to make sure that we keep moving in the right direction. And if they throw something out there like the plague that we recently went through, then they've got something in the works behind the scenes that is going to be a counter move to that. That's where it comes in for me. But what else has caused you to question your faith?
Well, more broadly speaking, I would say the drops about alien life have really messed up my worldview, because it's a fundamental, I've always considered myself a traditionalist Christian, right? Mm-hmm. And it's sort of a fundamental tenet that man is created in God's image. And that is where all morality springs from, and concepts of, the soul and right and wrong. But if there's alien life, how do we reconcile that? How do we reconcile that with the biblical narrative? How do we reconcile that with, if anybody reads Bill Cooper said in his book, and this is the thing, again, Q recommended this book a long time ago. I don't think many people have read it, because if they did, they would be, I think, as disturbed as I am. Because Bill Cooper said that at one point, the aliens gave the presidential administration at the time a holographic recording of the crucifixion of Christ. Mm-hmm. And he did not know if this was a narrative that had been manufactured by the aliens for our own development, or something else. He did not know. And the thing was, he was a faithful Christian too, as far as I know, his whole life. But he was just rocked by this. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I need answers. And if Q has answers, I want them. But at the same time, we're getting that's such a deep concept, because you're talking about, things like if man is not made in God's image, then nihilism is correct. And if nihilism is correct, morality doesn't exist. This is like a philosophical tangent that most people in their daily lives don't understand, but it's been something that's been haunting me and hammering me for months now. And I see that's in the drops. Like I see, Eric Trump today posts a Q meme. Mm-hmm. Trump earlier in, a couple weeks ago reposted Corticon. The things are loaded with Q. We know Q is part of the administration. Mm-hmm. And Trump the other day comes on. He's done an interview with his son. Yeah. And he talks about Roswell, and he's like, well. Just to address the comment here real quick, Father Seraphim Rose says, this is one thing that bugs me, and why I'm struggling with the Orthodox faith right now is because Father Seraphim Rose would say that anybody who sees an alien is under the effects of a demon. And this makes me think, what about those poor people who maybe really did see one, and they were just dismissed as demoniacs because of it? Mm-hmm. And And other people are speculating at, oh, these are the fallen. These are, the watchers. I got that's the thing. I can't win. I tried to explore in my article on the watchers, Nephilim and the fallen, and I had a longtime follower freak out at me and accuse me of trying to start a cult.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. So where does that leave me? Q, I need answers. I need them. I don't know how I can go on living without the answers.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, there is more in heaven and earth that we don't understand right now and will probably never understand than what our knowledge encompasses at this moment. And I truly believe that there are some things that we are never going to get the answers to until we die, until we go back to God. And for me...
assuming we make it and we don't end up in hell.
I mean, this is another thing I'm confident about. I mean, it has to do with the way you live your life, okay? And as long as you are committed to maintaining, a level of morality and you understand that God exists and you have some basic, like core beliefs. As long as you, have given your life over to God and given your, sworn your allegiance to Christ and you believe what it is and know that this stuff is true, then I think that you have nothing to worry about, because, I mean, if you truly believe that, then you're not going to go through your daily life, trying to figure out ways to screw people over, trying to get away with murder or, these things that obviously would send you to hell. So, but, either way, we're just maybe not meant to have these questions answered. And if we are, I believe that they will be answered, and they'll be answered as completely as they possibly can. But in the meantime, I mean, some of us are never going to know. Maybe some of us will find out, but I think the vast majority of us won't learn truly until we end up dying and going to heaven. So... I mean, I think it has to be just a self-reconciliation in order to be able to live and have a fulfilling life and not allow yourself to be overcome with these greater philosophical questions that you are never going to be able to answer. So I think that there is a possibility that many people who tell us what is true, they're just spitballing as well. I mean, I think that's happened all throughout time. For me, the idea of life outside of Earth doesn't interfere with my my beliefs as a Christian. If everything, and that includes everything outside of Earth, everything in the universe, if it all came from God, then, I mean, it's all a part of God's plan. So if they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. But, the universe is vast. There is essentially an eternal, amount of miles that we can fly throughout the galaxy. And, there's a good chance that we could come upon something that we don't know about or we don't understand. But you have to be willing to be comfortable with the fact that you don't know and, you're not going to know unless God wants you to. I know it's hard. I don't
know if I can accept that. I just don't. I don't. From a point of like agreeing, because I think it's clear that Q has some inclination, or at least more information than we do.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
And God, I want those answers. I'm so frustrated without them because I can't make things make sense. I just can't right now. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I feel like no one else is asking these questions. It's almost like I'm the only one who sees them.
Well,
and people are getting mad at me because I'm the only one who sees the questions.
I definitely don't think that you're the only one that's thinking these things. What gives me the peace that I have to be able to live my life and not just completely freak out is knowing that I'm not in control of what's going on around me. I'm only in control of myself, my own decisions, my own actions, and there's a fair amount of stuff in my life that, is all up to God. I can walk the finest line that is possible do the, everything right, do everything good, just basically be, an ethical, moral person. And that is what is going to help me out along the way. But everything else that is outside of my control, I'm not going to allow myself to go crazy over it because I can't do anything about it. It doesn't matter at the heart of it what the answers are because, I can't do anything about it. That doesn't mean stop asking the questions. It does, I like to have these thought exercises, and to say, what if? I love to do that, but I mean, at the end of the day, not my circus, not my monkey. This is the only thing I got.
I understand where you're coming from. I really want to know, and it's
I want to know
stuff.
too,
it's
dude.
Stuff that haunts me. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Course.
I want to know. I want to know. But I mean, if it's not up to me, it's not up to us though. That's the thing.
I see. I tend to disagree because I think we have a degree of free will that at the very least influences reality, and if we're not asking, we're not going to get the answer. At the same time, there's people in chat saying, "Oh, you got to pray to God. Oh, you got to." Believe me, I haven't gotten an answer yet. I'll let you know if he does.
Right.
like, come on, guys. That's kind of step one, right?
Right. Well, I wanted to show you this Twitter post here from Kurt Schlichter. Okay.
Sure.
So I'm going to put it up on the screen right there. He says, everything looks like it's falling apart, right? Wrong. It is meant to look like that. They want you to make emotion-driven moves that will help them win. Because what are the liberals doing everything on? It's all about emotion. There's no logic. There's no reason. Whatever the end answer is, it only matters what they tell you and how it makes you feel. Pulling down statues in leftist cities that refuse to maintain order is an attempt to psych you into thinking everything is out of control, because it's not everywhere, okay? It's only in these specific places which are run by Democrats, okay? You go to any other place in the country, as I said, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and things are just fine. A couple hundred people in San Francisco, the local cops were ordered to let it happen, and the same is true with Washington, D.C. What is this? So you think, why isn't Trump doing something? But it's a few hundred bums out of 330 million. And local cities could turn it off in a heartbeat, but they refuse to. Why? To convince you, the law and order types, that Trump is allowing mass chaos. But it's not mass by any standard, nor is it chaos. The local Democrats are actively facilitating it and making sure that no one is actually getting hurt, except dummies that the statues fall on. What would you have Trump do? Have him do a dirty, violent job the locals refuse to do? Send soldiers in and risk real violence, which plays against him? It's infuriating, and it's meant to be, but Trump is right not to take the bait. The answer is to let the left cities have their performance art fun. Let them trash themselves. Understand how it's meant to manipulate you. If they leave the Dem areas, unleash the local cops. Do not do what the enemy wants. Be woke to the enemy's game plan. Support the president. Do not get suckered. He isn't. Watch him use the DOJ. Buy guns and ammunition for legitimate deterrence and lawful self-defense. Vote GOP down the line. Better yet, get out and campaign. And then he's got a longer discussion of this transparent operation on Town Hall. I know it feels like we're losing right now. We are not. They want you mad. Don't let your emotions control you. We will win if we are woke. And then he says, ask yourself, have you heard the name George Floyd lately, especially in connection with a couple of Dem cities where the statues were pulled? Nope. Floyd was the cover. It's gone, and the normal people hate pointless chaos. It went from protests people did not think were illegitimate, which the bad actors exploited, to violence with no arguably legitimate cause. The Dems try to exploit the Antifa types as stormtroopers, but their control of the radicals is limited. Remember, Democrats really only want a return to the status quo, minus us normal people having rights and the ability to, again, disrupt that status quo. But their radical cat's paws want revolution. The Dems are riding a tiger. The radicals are over their skis past what normal people consider legitimate protests. Dems are content with the chaos for now since it causes us to think Trump is out of control, but they worry the radicals will tire of meaningless Dem city antics and threaten the suburbs. The second those whiny white wine women feel themselves or their families physically or economically threatened, they will turn to the strong horse, Trump and law and order. Biden is a hapless tool who can't or won't protect them. Their husbands are already there. Trump's game plan, number 1, identify himself with law and order. I feel he did that tonight. Number 2, avoid using federal force that can turn into Kent State 2. That's the Democratic dream. He's avoided that as well. Number 3, use the DOJ to prosecute and deter radicals who were happy to riot, knowing that Dem prosecutors would give them a pass. And 4, let them overstep. The Dems win if we panic and capitulate before their radical partners radically overstep. And being radical is what radicals do. Don't panic. Let the media, which is all in with the left, manipulate you. Get prepared and get woke. And then he says, do you want a quick sanity check? Look out your window. Unless you overlook Golden Gate Park in Scat Francisco, the Atlanta Wendy's, or the DC Square, there is no chaos outside. It's all a show designed to scare you away from Trump and into the gropey embrace of Puppet Joe. And that perfectly encapsulates exactly what I believe is happening. You know, Kurt, he said it better than I have, I think, but I mean, this is exactly what they want to do. They want to manipulate us. They want us to believe that things are worse than they actually are. They want to scare people into staying home so that we don't go out and vote in the election here in November. They need us to be fearful, and I'm not going to let them do that to me. I know what we've got. They're riding a tiger, but we're riding a lion. And we are all part of, you know, this movement pushing back against that. We're not going to allow the Dems to take control. And I definitely don't think that Q is asking us to do this blindly. I mean, we've got 3 years now of communication back and forth. And I think that right now, the reason that we're not getting maybe the message that some people are hoping for is because the message is what the Dems are allowing to happen in these cities. This is what we need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, you know, I thought you had a really great thread there. Thank you for reading that first and foremost. He makes a number of great points, and I think he's correct. You know, in the broad scheme of things, it is a showcase of chaos. So, and it is manipulation. Yeah. But beyond that, I mean, well, I don't know. I like to take my time when I talk.
All right. Well, you think about it. We'll follow up on it. We'll follow up on it. But, I mean, what do you think today about Post 4484 with the announcement from the Justice Department that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York has been removed? You know, and in a kind of spectacular fashion. Apparently, he was having some talks with Bill Barr about moving to a different appointment. And then essentially, he refused to put in his resignation, and Bill Barr just asked the president to just drop him, get rid of him right away.
Yeah, I needed to follow up on this. I wasn't actually sure. Did Trump follow through on that? Because I know
he's gone.
Are you sure about that? Because I had initially heard that Trump refused to.
No, I've got an announcement right here from Attorney General Bill Barr. It is directly from the Department of Justice today. He said, so Jay Clayton has been nominated as the replacement. But hang on, where is that statement? Well, first of all, the statement from Jeffrey Berman. He says, I learned in a press release from the Attorney General tonight that I was stepping down as United States Attorney. I have not resigned and have no intention of resigning my position, to which I was appointed by the judges of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. That right there is very strange that he wasn't nominated by the president. I will step down when a presidentially appointed nominee is confirmed by the Senate. Until then, our investigations will move forward without delay or interruption. I cherish every day that I work with the men and women of the office to pursue justice without fear or favor, and intend to ensure that this office's important cases continue unimpeded. And Attorney General Barr answered in this letter, which was put out in a post by our favorite Anon. He said, He directed it to Mr. Berman. He says, I was surprised and quite disappointed by the press statement you released last night. As we discussed, I wanted the opportunity to choose a distinguished New York lawyer, Jay Clayton, to nominate as United States Attorney, and was hoping for your cooperation to facilitate a smooth transition. When the Department of Justice advised the public of the President's intent to nominate your successor, I had understood that we were in ongoing discussions concerning the possibility of you remaining in the department or administration in one of the other senior positions we discussed, including Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Division and the Chairman of the SEC. While we advised the public that you would leave the U.S. Attorney's Office in 2 weeks, I still hoped that your departure would be amicable. Unfortunately, with your statement last night, you have chosen public spectacle over public service. Because you have declared that you have no intention of resigning, I have asked the President to remove you as of today, and he has done so. By operation of law, the Deputy United States Attorney, Audrey Strauss, will become the acting United States Attorney, and I anticipate that she will serve in that capacity until a permanent successor is in place. Now, he has officially had President Trump nominate Jay Clayton to serve as the new U.S. Attorney for the SDNY. And of course, we know Jay is the chairman of the SEC. He just needs to get appointed by the Senate, which he will because we control the Senate. And now, because Berman is out of there, our favorite Anon brings it up right here. Importance of SDNY control, jurisdiction. We got the Weiner case. We have the Clinton Foundation case. We have the Epstein case. We have Ukraine. And now also Jim Comey's daughter works out of the SDNY. Now that she is not going to have a boss who is favorable to potentially going after the president instead of these very important cases, I think things are going to be very different for her. Jim Comey even wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post today talking about, the dangers of removing Jeffrey Berman. The president is the president. He can hire or fire anyone at will as part of that branch of government. And now that Berman is gone, we have an acting U.S. attorney. What do we know about President Trump and his acting interim replacements that he puts in there? Always somebody who is very favorable to the mission, to what we're trying to do. Now we're going to have Jay Clayton come in there afterwards. In between now and the election, think about the movement that we can have. These are key. We've been talking about this stuff since the beginning. Weiner, Clinton Foundation, Epstein, Ukraine, those four things right there. Okay.
The big kahunas.
Yes, the big kahunas. Okay. Now, with a U.S. attorney in place, we can literally nuke the Dems and all of these issues in between now and the election.
Well, I'm hoping this plays out over the next couple of weeks. Many people, I think, have already forgotten that Q gave us a 10-week timeline that basically ends the week of July 4th. So I'm hoping things heat up week after week after week while this goes on.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things that we're going to have to see. I mean, I tend to believe that we are going to. I think this is a huge move right here. Okay, we've had Jeffrey Berman in there this entire time, and President Trump didn't remove him. I mean, there was some legal actions against Trump, the administration, I believe against one of his lawyers, all coming out of the SDNY. We did have some interesting cases that came out while Jeffrey Berman was in there as U.S. attorney. But, these ones right here, the fact that they never moved forward, that there was never anything done, was very troubling to me. But go back to the early days of the administration. Eric Prince talking about what was on that Weiner laptop. All of those deaths of those NYPD officers that's been heavily speculated that they were the ones who actually got a look at the contents. This is the holy grail right here with these cases.
Yes, it is.
I mean, quite literally. Okay, so now that we've got Berman gone, somebody else in there, I mean, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say between now and July 4th, I mean, this could be the biggest set of booms that we've had so far.
I'm hoping and praying that you're right. I think we need some booms right now. I really think the movement could use some booms. But again, this is a really good indication, and it seems to be moving in the right direction. So we've all got to keep our eyes on this as it moves forward.
Absolutely. All right. So, what else really gave me a lot of hope is that, what was it, on the 18th, 2 days ago, we got two, great reminders about what's really at the heart of what we're fighting against. The story about the German officials who placed children with known people who would commit crimes against them.
Right.
You know, I mean, that is, they're showing some historical precedents there for having these sick, twisted individuals in positions of power. And, you know, I mean, it's not like it was just one story that, you know, went away. This is a historical overview of the German government and, you know, generations of children who have been abused because of this system. And then they go right into the stories that we all know very well, in the information about Twitter and then the information about Facebook.
Sure.
You know, think about how many new eyes are on the movement now as opposed to when this information initially came out. And, you know, all of those people just having their minds split open. And then, you know, the first thing that comes to mind when you see these stories, it takes me right back to 2015, okay, the Podesta emails. And, you know, how that information started percolating out. And, you know, we got to the point where it seemed like it was going to hit the mainstream. And then all of a sudden you got Edgar, what's his name? You know, whatever he was, going into the restaurant and firing that fateful round.
Yeah.
The best bad shot in the world. You know, but I mean, all of these people who, you know, maybe just came to the movement in the last couple of months. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get so many new eyes on a daily basis. You know, people saying, you know, I just figured this out. I just opened up, and now they're going to see that. And then they're going to look back and think, you know, God, maybe that Italian Foodgate thing was real. This is what it's all about.
I think you're right. They just may.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's big.
That is huge. That is huge. Okay. And that's also something that gives me just a warm, fuzzy feeling on the inside. Then in the next post, 4485, we've got the actual U.S. code about U.S. attorneys, talking about how Barr and the president can fire Berman. And then this tweet that I completely missed of Pompeo with his dog off the leash. First of all, we had the post on June 10th. Do Anons understand what is about to be unleashed? And then Pompeo with the dog, absolutely unleashed. The dog is carrying its own leash. Just 2 days later.
Let's be honest. That's a cute puppy. That is one cute puppy.
Super cute puppy. Absolutely. I love dogs. You guys know me. I love dogs. But you know, I mean, I've thought for a long time that Pompeo was a part of this, and this kind of reinforces that for me. Because Pompeo was the head of the Clowns in America, okay? Then he moves into the State Department, and, you know, the State Department is arguably the diplomatic mission for the Clowns in America.
Right.
And so, you know, there's a big opportunity there that I believe he had to kind of go in, get a very good look of, you know, what was going on and how they were operating, and then go and do the exact same thing at the State Department. And, you know, now here, you know, dogs, I mean, typically dogs have, have been a symbol of, Muffin, what's going on? Dogs have been a symbol of the, the cabal. I mean, anytime
right.
they post a dog. So the dog is off the leash, and Mike Pompeo was talking about it. You know, I honestly, we're at a point where we're about to see some major movement here. And then in the next one actually goes back to the Clowns in America. And Clowns in America, early 2017 to early 2018. Is that when Pompeo was the head of the Clowns? I think so. Yeah, because he was there right at the beginning of the administration.
Yeah.
External Advisory Board, Clowns in America members during this time. Was Bill Barr a member of the board? What advantages might exist to incoming AG Barr regarding a member of the External Advisory Board of the Clowns in America? Bill Barr obviously, you know, had something to do with the Clowns in America going back to George H.W. Bush's tenure. So Bill Barr, again, having that very inside information about the Clowns in America, now having the involvement here in the External Advisory Board in modern day, and then coming into being the #1 law enforcement official in the United States. Okay, what advantages might exist to Secretary of State regarding former director of the Clowns in America? Exactly my point about Mike Pompeo. It must be right. It must be according to the law. It must be proven. It's what you don't see. Durham is not the only game in town. What did you think? What did you feel today after reading that?
I gotta be honest, Red Pill. I don't get my hopes up anymore. I
understand.
Whatever it is, I never get my hopes up because I've fallen into the trap too many times of getting too excited, and then other people get excited, and then they get mad at me when stuff doesn't pan out. So it's like okay, Q, we'll see. We'll see.
I understand. I know, and that's totally legitimate. You know, I mean, I'm the same way. It's just I'm excited, and I can't hide my excitement. And I've been excited. You know, I am not one of those people who sees our favorite Anon Q posting these things and then saying that nothing has happened, because I would be lying to myself if I looked at the pattern of events over the last couple of years, seeing the movement of these people within the administration. I mean, this is exactly what I thought was happening. And I feel like this is a direct confirmation of that. You know, there is no mistaking the way that President Trump has moved people from, you know, throughout the administration to these various agencies. It's clearly been an evidence-gathering mission this entire time. John Durham, you know, okay, so we had Huber. Okay, we didn't know about Durham. Then we figured out about Durham, and then everything shifted to Durham. Who else is working behind the scenes? There have got to be other people. I do believe that Pompeo and Barr are very deep in this. You know, you've got people out there who say Barr because he was part of the H.W. Bush administration, but I think that gives him a unique perspective that otherwise would just be missing. You guys, I want to hear your thoughts.
I was just going to say, you know, you got cut off there a little bit, so I might have missed a sentence in there. So I hope I'm not jumping too much. But I will say, in regards to Barr and Durham, many people will remember my articles on the Italian job.
Yes.
The Operation Charlemagne.
Yes.
I got confirmation from a credible source that they both traveled to Italy as a result of those articles.
That is amazing, dude. Congratulations.
I don't, you know, it's only one source telling me this. It's only, you know, I haven't been able to verify it independently with any, I mean, how can I? You know, you're talking about deep state matters. But when I published that article in May of last year. They went over there in October. And it was a sequence of events that had happened. It was that, and then the Gateway Pundit picked up on it, and then they went over there. So I definitely know this is an evidence gathering mission, but that's going to be, I want to see if that actually amounts to anything in the long run.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did. You know, a lot of people out there, you know, say, of course, the president, the administration reads Neon, you know, or they watch you Red Pill, you know. I mean, that is just an absolute, like, pipe dream as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if it's happening, like, I am eternally honored. And, you know,
exactly.
Yeah. You know, but I mean, like, we have a special part to play in this, and I don't ever want you to lose faith completely and think that, you know, you've wasted your time. Neon, I have looked up to you for so long. I consider you to be a dear friend, and I just want you to know truly how valuable you are and how important the work that you're doing and the work that you are going to continue to do is. So, you know, it's my hope that you will be able to just look at this, everything that's happening, and never lose sight of that. Okay? I've said it so many times, you know, it's not happening on our timeline, and unfortunately we don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, but it's going to happen perfectly, and that honestly is what I believe. Some jerk in my comment section the other day said, Red Pill, I used to think you were just ignorant, but now I think that you know you're selling hopium, and that makes you worse than a drug dealer in front of an elementary school. And I said, well, actually, you know, you're the one who's ignorant, because I know exactly who I am and what I believe, and you are 100% wrong. You know, so go kick rocks, watch somebody else's videos if that's what you believe. But I mean, this is truly how I feel. And it's not just a feeling for me. Like, I know that these things are happening. I know what's coming down the pipeline. And I feel it's my mission to be able to present this information and to help people formulate that same point of view. I will never tell people what to believe. But, you know, I hope that people can have the same level of hope, faith, and optimism that I've been able to achieve. And I've had some extenuating circumstances in my life. My life just a couple years ago was a hot pile of dog do, you know? I mean, I couldn't have seen myself doing what I'm doing right now. But I know that my faith is what has allowed me to get here. And so I'm very committed to it based upon that. But, you know, you are an invaluable part of this movement, and I don't want you to lose that.
Well, thanks for saying that, man.
You're welcome. I love you, okay?
Thank you.
You know, no Cuomo. No Cuomo, dude. I love you more than you can know.
I love this community, too. I really do.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything you do. You know, it's... Guys, I don't consider myself a good person. I don't. I'm trying to be. And all I want to do is help the movement and help stop some real evil if we can. I know I'm not perfect. But I hope everyone understands that I really try. And I'm going to see this through to the end. The best that I can. And I hope that I just hope that God blesses that effort. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm really not. I'm just trying to help.
I know you are. And I know that the people who are here in the audience with us, we got 4,500 of our closest friends here. I know that these people know that. And I do truly believe that God is going to bless you. You know, in a manner of speaking, Muffin, what are you doing? In a manner of speaking, I think he already has. Okay? But it's a gift that continues to be given. And it's, you know, it's going to open up and, you know, things are going to be made available to you that you probably never thought could ever be possible. And we all come to that in our own way and in our own time. So, you know, and I want to ask the audience, make sure, you know, I mean, like if when people produce something in the way that Neon does, you know, I mean, don't forget about all of the crap that you have to wade through to get to that point, okay? This man has sacrificed years of his life selflessly, tirelessly, to bring us the incredible content that he has and that I know he's going to continue to bring us. And I know that Q Team and I know that people in the administration are very aware of your work. And, you know, Q's never responded to me directly. You know, I mean, just because he's never put your Twitter profile up there, you know, I don't think that it means that they're not watching. You know, for whatever, I don't think he's ever posted anything from Gab, you know, and I don't know, maybe that's because of the reputation that it once had. You know, I mean, it seems like President Trump has chosen Twitter to be the main battleground. You know, don't need to draw attention to Gab necessarily because they don't have a problem with free speech. You know, the problems with free speech are on those, you know, those big bads that we are constantly drawing attention to. Q's never posted anything from Facebook either. You know, it's always Twitter. And I think that a lot of that is because there is attention that needs to be put on there. A spotlight has to be shown on what those people are doing and the people that are involved with Twitter. And I think that post about Jack, you know, from a couple days ago, talking about those terrible people that they allow on their platform to discuss, you know, the awful things they want to do to young children. That's why that has to be looked at. But, you know, I would not be surprised if once this is all over, you know, somebody comes and gives you a medal or asks you to be, you know, there on stage, you know, for the discussion of something. Or if, you know, like Hot Wheels, you come home one day and there's a big blue Q in your bedroom.
I don't need that, man.
I know.
You know, I just want us to win.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I really want.
I believe we are. I believe we are. You know, I mean, this is too important a mission for us to falter and allow them to take over again. You know, and I go back to, you know, my point about people having to be shown how terrible life would be under Democrat rule. I mean, maybe there were some people who forgot, you know? I mean, some people who thought, oh, you know, Trump is horrible. But, you know, ask the people of Minneapolis, you know, ask the people of New York City. You know, I think that anybody who is living there and objectively sees, you know, the devastation. Think about all the black business owners in Minneapolis, you know, who were crying out against these protesters. You know, I mean, I know who they're going to vote for come November. I know what's going to happen, you know, and I do believe, I truly believe that we're going to win. We're going to be victorious because this is more than just a political war. I mean, this is spiritual warfare. This is a war for the very future of our souls and for the future of, you know, Western civilization, for humanity. This is going to happen. And I don't think that President Trump would allow it to get too bad. But there is a certain level that it has to go to in order for these people to realize, you know, is this what I want? Is this really what I want long term? You know, and keep in mind, we've got to undo generations of you know, mind washing that has been taking place, brainwashing, mind control. All of these people are under a spell, and they have to be woken up from it. And you know, it's going to happen. We've only got a couple of months until the election, and President Trump in office for a second term. I mean, this is going to be it. And you know, so I just stick with me, because I'll be there to hold your hand if you need. I'll be there to support you in any way that I can. And I am not personally going to allow us to slide back and, you know, enter into the world that the Democrats would create for us. I'm not going to let it happen. And I know that everybody watching here is not going to let it happen either. So as long as we are united, even if it's with different opinions, as long as we are, you know, linked arm in arm, and we are moving forward in the best way that we possibly can, and allowing these other guys, you know, Q Team and POTUS and everybody in his administration to do their jobs, I truly believe that we're going to win. I don't even have a single doubt. I know that it's happening.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, listen, you guys, let's take just a short intermission. I'm going to go let the dogs out. I'm going to throw on the theme song, and then we'll be back in just a minute, okay? Well, the music was supposed to keep going. I don't know what happened. All right. All right, guys. Oh, you can see behind the curtain. Muffin. Well, I hope that anybody who sent a donation has not left, because I need to go through and do a couple of thank yous. Let me just say thank you to Singing Pretty. Thank you very much, Singing Pretty. I appreciate that. I will keep you in mind. I appreciate it. Let's see. I also need to say thank you to Sandra. Thank you to Hey Jude. Oh, shoot. Hey Jude, your message is gone. She said, I don't feel so alone. Watching the rally with you is a joy. God bless. Hey Jude. Thank you so much, Hey Jude. Thank you to Sheila. Sheila says, thanks, RP. Love your reactions. Yeah, it was pretty fun for me. I had a great time watching the rally with you guys tonight. David says, just chipping in. Thank you, David. Chris, thank you for that. Lorinda, thank you for that. And that is all. So everybody who has donated tonight, really appreciate it, you guys. It means more than you could possibly know, because it is not easy to continue doing this in the face of YouTube completely stealing my income to be able to do this. You know, mostly because I feel like it's not fair. You know, people on the left, mainstream media, they are allowed to do and say whatever they want to denigrate the president, to denigrate our movement, to spew fake news. And I get on the air and I start spitting some truth, and they tell me that it's not something I'm allowed to do. This is truthfully one of the things that I want President Trump to work on, you know, once it becomes time. I think that it will. And, you know, I'm glad you guys are going to remain here with me. I told you before, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to stop doing this. It is my mission in life, I feel, to be here with you guys, delivering this information. You guys, I also want to remind everybody about Neon's channel. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to Neon's YouTube, because if you aren't subscribed to Neon yet, you need to be. He's only put out a couple of shows so far, but each of them has gotten just, you know, successively better each time. His skills, his editing, his writing, it is top-notch, and it is among the best channels on YouTube that you're going to see. So I just put his link into the description there. So, Neon, are you back with me, buddy?
Hey, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Good, good. Not a problem. Well,
I wish you could have seen me. I just had a bug crawl across my glasses from letting the dog out, and it was right in my face, so I just had a little spasm in my chair. I freaked out like, what the heck?
That is so funny. So, did you have anything that you wanted to you know, share with the audience tonight? Did you have anything that you wanted to say that maybe we didn't get a chance to?
I think we pretty much covered all the bases.
All right, all right.
Yeah, we're good.
I don't think we're going to do a call-in tonight, you guys, because it's already late. I know RDoc has a show scheduled here. He was hoping to go on as close to 11:30 as possible. So we're going to go ahead and call it there. I am not going to be here with Methods tomorrow for Comfy Sunday. It's Father's Day. I want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the audience, and happy Father's Day to all the mothers who needed to act as fathers for their children. Happy Parents' Day, we'll go ahead and say. Anybody who's out there with a child and raising them, whether you're alone or you're married, you know, mad respect to you. It is not easy raising a child, especially in today's world, but, you know, like Neon said, we're human. We all do the best job we can, and we're all going to stumble at some point. But the most important thing is that we get up, dust ourselves off, and keep moving. All right, you guys, I will be back on Tuesday for Occam's Razor with Methods, as well as Red Pill News at 6 p.m. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out all of my daily news briefs throughout the week, obviously you can go right there on the channel. It's under the news playlist, and the most recent one will be up there at the top. Once again, Please help me out by liking this show on your way out. We're at 3.5 thousand likes, and we've got just about 3,600 people there. Anybody who left when I had to take the dogs out, yeah, sorry you guys had to take off, but maybe you'll go ahead and catch it in the replay. All right, guys. Neon, thank you so much for being here. I love you, brother, and I can't wait till you come back again in the future.
Thanks for having me on, Red Pill. Great as always.
You're welcome, brother. All right, and to all the mods, thank you for keeping it comfy. Thank you to everybody who was hanging out and participated in the chat. Thank you to everybody who did like and share the broadcast, and to everybody who donated. I love you guys, and happy Father's Day. Good luck, and God bless.